I'm getting back together with her, so let's get divorced. My foolish husband, Wesley, who is completely smitten with my sister Amanda, has been pushed into this by her, even to the point of claiming he'll marry her again. I was upset about the cheating, but honestly, I don't have any lingering feelings for you. So sure, I'll gladly divorce you. You two deserve each other. Enjoy your happy little life together. Or so I thought. Only 10 minutes later, an incredible whirlwind of chaos awaited Wesley and Amanda. My name is Rihanna. I'm 40 years old, and lately obsessed with growing vegetables using hydroponics in plastic bottles. What? You think it sounds cheap? Oh no. It's not just about saving money. Vegetables you grow yourself actually taste amazing. Sure, I used to think this kind of thing was too much trouble when I was younger, but now that I've tried it, it's surprisingly fun. As the weather warms up, I've been thinking about growing different veggies on my balcony. Back in my teens, though, I was far more focused on skincare than gardening. But I did have a problem back then. That scarf. Seeing the scarf wrapped around Amanda's neck, I couldn't help but stop in my tracks. Noticing me staring, my sister, Amanda, said, "Oh, this," and twirled around in front of me. "Doesn't it look great?" "That's not the point. I have the same one." "Eck, don't copy me." "I'm not. I've had this since last month." "You didn't even have one back then." "I've had mine for a while now." "Oh yay. Since when?" As we started arguing, Mom, clearly fed up, yelled, "Enough. Get to school, now." Grumbling under my breath, I reluctantly put on my shoes and got ready to leave. Amanda, on the other hand, made a point to say, "Don't use this scarf, Rihanna," as she ran ahead of me on our way to school. We're sisters, but we don't get along at all. For reasons I can't quite understand, Amanda always copies the things I have, buys the same items, or takes jabs at me whenever she can. You'd think having matching things would mean we're close, right? No way. If you heard that exchange earlier, you'd know the truth. She complains and demands I don't use things just because they match hers. She doesn't want to share any similarities with me. Copying me in the first place felt like nothing but spite. I think I know why Amanda dislikes me. When we were younger, Grandma once compared our intelligence. It wasn't much, I just happened to answer a math problem faster in front of Grandma because I was older. It wasn't extraordinary at all, but Grandma praised me as if I were a genius. I doubt Grandma meant anything bad by it. She was probably just trying to encourage a child's strengths. But to Amanda, it must have felt like I had completely overshadowed her. From that day on, she started seeing me as a rival. The rivalry, however, was pretty one-sided. Being 2 years apart, there wasn't much we could compete in. Our test scores couldn't be compared because we were in different grades, and neither of us was strikingly more attractive or plainer than the other. Still, Amanda kept competing. Whether it was counting how often Mom complimented us or comparing our grades, she always wanted to see who was better. I just wanted to get along with her, so I never played into it. But that probably wasn't a good approach either. Amanda eventually stopped comparing herself to me when she realized it was pointless, but as you can see, the relationship between us sisters remained strained. It became obvious through her actions that Amanda wanted to make me miserable, to upset me in any way she could. Even though our parents noticed the tension between us, they mostly sided with Amanda. No matter how unreasonable Amanda was, they'd tell me, "You're the older sister, so just be patient." When I was little, I could understand the whole older sister argument. But by the time I was in middle and high school, that excuse didn't fly anymore. We were both growing up, after all. It's not like I was deprived of meals or banned from taking showers, or anything extreme like that. But now I realize this might fall under the category of toxic parents. At the time, though, it seemed pretty normal for families to operate like that. One day, when I was already grappling with frustrations about Amanda and our parents, something happened that made me absolutely hate her. It was after school, when I was shopping with my friends. "Rihanna, look at that." One of my friends tugged at my sleeve, and when I turned around, I saw Amanda walking arm in arm with my boyfriend on the opposite side of the street, looking very cozy together. "Wait, what?" I muttered in disbelief, but my friend only added fuel to the fire by saying, "That's definitely a date." That night, Amanda came home a bit later than usual, practically glowing with happiness. "Hey, I'm back," she called out as she walked into the house, carrying shopping bags from a trendy clothing store. It was the same store I had seen her and Greg passing by earlier, so it wasn't my imagination after all. "Hey Amanda, today, you were with my boyfriend, weren't you?" Amanda gave me a sly grin. "My boyfriend? Who are you talking about? Don't play dumb. You were with Greg." "Oh, Greg. He's my boyfriend now." "What? Since when?" A while ago." "That's impossible. I've been dating him for over a year." "And you knew that?" "What? I didn't know. It's not like you ever introduced him to me. You saw us together and even said, 'Oh, you've got a boyfriend now.'" "Oh, that was Greg." Honestly, I don't remember the guy's face. Amanda's blatant feigned ignorance made my blood boil. "Stop it. You've got to stop wanting everything I have." "What? You're the one always taking my stuff." "It's exhausting, really. I've never done that. It's always you." As our voices started to rise, Dad and Mom shouted from the other room, "Be quiet. It's late. Stop this ridiculous arguing." Mom scolded, directing her anger solely at me. "This isn't ridiculous. Amanda stole my boyfriend." "Your boyfriend?" High schoolers have no business getting all worked up over relationships. Sisters fighting over a boy is embarrassing. It's not a fight. Amanda took him from me. I don't care. You're the older sister. Stop worrying about boys and focus on your studies. Just let Amanda have him. Honestly, you guys can make a fuss over the most trivial things." Mom said with a sigh as she headed toward the kitchen. "Aren't you ashamed to still be talking about boys at your age?" And Dad scolded me, shaking his head and turning back to the TV. Amanda just smirked at me. Am I the one at fault here? Later, when I confronted my boyfriend, he apologized, saying he had started dating Amanda a month ago. Apparently, Amanda had been the one to initiate it, and things just escalated from there. Normally, I'd accuse him of something like, "You seduced her, didn't you?" But this time, I simply accepted it with a resigned, "Yay, that makes sense. She probably wanted him because he was mine." That's the kind of sister she is. Of course, I broke up with him that very day. Amanda seemed delighted about it, going out of her way for weeks to casually mention, "Guess what my boyfriend and I talked about today?" in front of our parents and me. But over time, as he was no longer mine, she started to lose interest. Not even 2 months later, they broke up. If they were going to break up that quickly, she shouldn't have taken him from me in the first place. That lingering resentment became a thorn in my heart. After that incident, for some reason, my parents decided that I alone was banned from dating. They told me it was to prevent me from having toxic relationships that could damage the sibling bond. It's ridiculous. I've never been one to jump from relationship to relationship. If anything, I was the victim of Amanda stealing my boyfriend. Meanwhile, Amanda openly discussed her boyfriends right in front of our parents. You'd think they'd scold her for being too reckless, but instead it was me who got punished. Really absurd. Ridiculous. Thinking any boyfriend I had would just get stolen by Amanda made dating pointless. Living exactly what my parents wanted, free of relationships. The next time I had a boyfriend was years later, after moving out and starting my job. I ended up in a relationship with Wesley, a coworker, and eventually married him. After we got married, I quit my job to become a housewife. By that time, Amanda was also married, though our relationship as sisters hadn't improved much. Still, I thought at least now she wouldn't take anything from me. Oh, Wesley's from Chicago. My ex was from Chicago too. I guess we have something in common. Haha, that's not exactly a shared interest. Oops, you caught me. During our first Christmas visit home as a married couple, Amanda kept talking to Wesley. Amanda's strong social skills and charm made conversations flow easily, and Wesley seemed to warm up to her. To any outsider, it probably looked like two in-laws bonding, something you'd expect in a happy family dynamic. It's better for in-laws to get along than to have tension, right? Wesley was probably just being polite and friendly. But to me, Amanda's glances and her tone toward Wesley, it didn't feel like family. It felt unsettling. Thankfully, that visit ended without incident, and my fears turned out to be unfounded. After all, Amanda had brought her own husband, Jeffrey, with her. She wouldn't try anything inappropriate, right? Still, the past clung to me, making it hard not to look at Amanda with suspicion. I know it was a bad way to think, but I couldn't help it. The following year, during Thanksgiving, something happened. Good night, Wesley said as he stepped out of Amanda's room. When I got out of the shower and couldn't find him, I realized he had been in Amanda's room. He stiffened when he saw me, his expression awkward. What were you doing in Amanda's room? Looking at an old photo album. Wesley replied calmly to my question. There was nothing unusual in his tone or answer, but something about his overly casual demeanor felt strange to me. Was I just overthinking this? As I was lost in my thoughts, Wesley asked, "Are you suspicious of something?" "There's nothing going on." And he was right. I was suspicious, but without proof. I had no grounds to accuse him. I spent the night restless and uneasy. The next morning, Wesley and Amanda acted as if nothing had changed, their interactions seemingly normal. But after we returned from our trip to visit family, Wesley started behaving differently. He began taking his phone into the bathroom, something he never did before. On weekends, when he used to head to the gym early, he now stayed in bed, scrolling on his phone for hours. "Why don't you just get up already?" When I said this, walking into the bedroom, he scrambled to hide his phone, and if I asked him about it, he'd get angry, which only made his behavior seem more suspicious. During the weekdays, overtime and business trips increased. He even stopped eating the lunches I prepared, coming home to say, "My boss invited me out for lunch." That had never happened before. It wasn't a leap for me to start suspecting that whoever invited him to lunch was also his mistress. The question was, who was it? He kept his phone with him constantly, making it impossible for me to check. But deep down, I had a strong hunch about who it might be. I was wondering how to uncover the truth when one day, I got a call from Jeffrey. "Jeffrey, what's going on? This is sudden." "Oh, Rihanna. Sorry to call out of the blue like this. I know it must be a surprise. We exchanged numbers ages ago, but we've never really used them. What's up?" There was a pause. Something about his tone over the phone felt off. "Jeffrey, is everything okay?" Sorry. I'm just trying to figure out how to say this." "What do you mean?" "Well, my wife, Amanda, and Wesley, They might be seeing each other. I froze for a moment, my hand going to my head. I wasn't shocked. Honestly, it felt more like, so I was right after all. Because I'd already suspected that Amanda might be the person Wesley was involved with. When I stayed silent, Jeffrey added, "This must be so hard for you. I'm sorry for bringing it up so suddenly." "No, it's fine. Honestly, I've been suspecting the two of them myself. I'm not as surprised as you'd think. You knew. Just a feeling. You know Amanda has taken a boyfriend from me before." "What? She's done that?" Jeffrey sounded stunned, and I let out a dry laugh. "So, when you say they might be seeing each other, is it just a possibility? Or do you have actual proof?" "I don't have any solid proof on hand. But Amanda was exchanging messages with a guy, and his name was displayed as Wesley on her phone. Also, the way she spoke during the calls sounded eerily similar to how they interacted in person." "I see. Actually, during my last visit home, I happened to see Wesley coming out of Amanda's room." "What? That's pretty much definitive proof of an affair. Why does this kind of thing have to happen within the family?" "Seriously, Jeffrey, are you okay? I mean, emotionally." "I'm completely wrecked. It's bad enough to know I'm being cheated on, but the fact that it's Wesley just makes it worse. I'm so sorry about Wesley and Amanda. Rihanna, you're a victim here. You didn't do anything wrong, so please don't apologize." Jeffrey's words brought tears to my eyes. I realized that deep down, I had been haunted by the feeling that, just like when Amanda stole my boyfriend before, people might somehow blame me, saying, "This is your fault." But Jeffrey firmly acknowledged that Rihanna is also a victim. That was exactly what I had always wanted someone to say, that I needed someone to understand and stand by me. But there was no time to dwell on emotions. If the two of them are really having an affair, what should we do from here? First, I think we need to talk. I'll try to convince her to stop the affair on my end. That won't work. If you're not willing to tolerate the infidelity, divorce is the quicker option. I understand that, but I get married for a reason, and I want to face this instead of running away with divorce as an easy out. "I see. If that's how you feel, I won't stop you. I support you." "Thank you. I'll talk to Amanda tonight. I'll leave Wesley out of it for now. You're okay with bringing him up, though?" "I'll leave his name out and see if the conversation itself brings out any evidence." "All right, I'll leave it to you." With that, Jeffrey and I ended our call. For me, it was time to start gathering concrete evidence of Wesley's affair. Just as I was thinking that, that's what I was thinking, when a few days later, Jeffrey contacted me. Rihanna." "Jeffrey, what's wrong? You sound really down." "Haha. Yeah, I'm just exhausted. It's about Amanda, isn't it? I mean, the fact that you're calling me." "Yay, pretty much. Things got heated during our conversation." "What do you mean?" "She denied everything, said she felt emotionally hurt by my accusations, and declared she was leaving to stay with her family. She's gone back to her parents' house." "What?" As I heard this, a bad feeling crept in. I had spoken to her family a few days ago, but no one mentioned Amanda being there. And coincidentally, Wesley had left for a 3-week business trip out of state just days earlier. The timing was just too perfect to ignore. "Are we sure Amanda's really staying with her parents?" "What do you mean?" "Suspicious." I explained Wesley's behavior and my recent communication with her family to Jeffrey. "When you spoke with Anastasia and the others, Amanda was supposedly already back home. Based on that, I don't think she's actually there. I'm not thrilled about it, but I'll call my family and confirm." "No, I'll handle it. It'd be better coming from me anyway. I can just say Amanda left home, and that should be enough." "Really? Well then, I guess I'll leave it to you." I'll contact them right away." Jeffrey's words marked the end of our call. Not even 10 minutes later, Jeffrey called me back, confirming what I had suspected: Amanda wasn't at her parents' home. Out of curiosity, I called Wesley's office. It turns out he had been on paid leave for a while. He said he was going on a trip with his wife, his coworker explained. His wife was living alone in the countryside, though. So, who exactly was he traveling with? The woman who answered my call, one of Wesley's coworkers. "Wait, are you okay?" Sounded shocked and even worried. It was clear to me now. Those two were together. I shared everything I had learned with Jeffrey, and we decided we needed a sit-down conversation, the four of us. But then, 2 days later, we received devastating news from Jeffrey's family. Jeffrey had passed away. The cause was acute heart failure. For the record, Jeffrey wasn't overweight, nor did he have any known medical conditions. He was just an average, healthy young man. The hospital didn't offer any other explanation, but I've learned that heart failure can be triggered by extreme stress. I'm convinced stress is what killed him. Even as we tried to arrange his funeral, we couldn't get in touch with Amanda or Wesley. Jeffrey's family was furious, of course. And then, Wesley's radio silence led Jeffrey's family to make a sharp accusation. "Is your husband having an affair with our son's fiancée?" My parents were desperate to deny it, but I said, "Yes, he is." That left my parents completely pale. Jeffrey's family erupted in grief and rage. "Your daughter killed our son. We're going to sue you," they screamed, forcing us to leave the funeral. It was a complete nightmare. And Amanda, she was likely oblivious to the chaos, enjoying her secret getaway with Wesley. I swore to myself I'd never forgive them. 2 weeks later, Wesley finally returned, and with Amanda by his side, no less. The audacity was mind-boggling. "Welcome home. Why is Amanda here?" "I need to talk to you," Wesley said, his tone cold. I smirked, unable to hide my disdain. "Haha, I know. You two are together, aren't you? Pretending to be on business trips, ignoring my calls for weeks. You really outdid yourself." I told him not to pick up, because we didn't want to be interrupted. Amanda interjected smugly. "Of course, Jeffrey's death was just a pesky distraction for you, wasn't it?" "Wait, what?" "Amanda, Mom and the others tried to reach you. Why did you ignore them?" "I figured it wasn't anything important." "Wait, Jeffrey passed away. He died of acute heart failure. The funeral's over. You two weren't there." "What? Oh, but in that case." Amanda glanced at Wesley, who looked conflicted, but couldn't suppress a small smile. "There's no need to hide anymore. I love Amanda. I loved you too, but meeting her made me realize I need something different. I'm going to rebuild my life with her. Let's get a divorce." With that, Wesley handed me divorce papers, already filled out. The smile I gave when I learned about Jeffrey earlier must have been because I wouldn't have to deal with a messy divorce. Thinking about someone dying and finding Wesley's behavior so repulsive made my feelings for him grow even colder. Well, since I'd already decided to divorce him when I found out about his affair, there was no reason to refuse. "All right, let's get divorced." Wesley's face lit up at my words. "Thank you." He even expressed gratitude. "He can enjoy this while it lasts." "But are you sure? That girl has been divorced twice already, and she's only 25. "What?" After blurting out a surprised response, Wesley turned to Amanda. Amanda quietly averted her eyes. "Divorced twice? Not just once. Jeffrey was her second husband, and the reasons for the divorces: she didn't take care of her child at all." "What? You had a child?" "Yes, well, her previous husband has been taking care of the child all along." Amanda pretended to be someone without kids, So Jeffrey apparently didn't even know she had a child when they got married. At my revelation, Amanda's face turned visibly pale. Who cares if I've been divorced twice or have a kid? I'm still me. Well, if he's willing to accept that, then I think it's fine. Amanda is Amanda, after all. Saying that, I glanced at Wesley, whose expression showed unmistakable panic. Her first husband, you see, became overwhelmed with parenting because she wasn't helping at all. A strange situation, right? In those cases, you'd expect the mother to take custody. But even so, her ex-husband is raising the child with his parents now. What? Why? Because she said she didn't want the child. Wesley looked shocked at my words. Was she really that cold? When he turned to Amanda with this question, she lashed out defensively, saying, "Raising kids is hard, okay." She kept making excuses, but they were all self-serving reasons. It was clear Wesley was starting to feel disgusted. Divorce isn't exactly rare, but in Amanda's case, the reasons. And then the next marriage. She had an affair, right? On top of that, Jeffrey probably passed away because of the stress she caused him. Honestly, no one can be happy next to you. At my words, Amanda snapped. So what? Wesley muttered. This is unbelievable. Unbelievable. How can you say that? Amanda raised her voice in anger. Well, Brienne is right. Not taking care of your kid, multiple divorces, and now infidelity. It's a lot to take in. Infidelity? You were just as involved. Don't make me the only bad guy here. Yay, but Amanda started it, and you went along with it, didn't you? That's true, but thinking about the marriage makes me hesitate. So I was just a fling to you. You don't get to say that after having an affair. Stop acting like you're the decent one here. If it weren't for Amanda, I would have been. As the two of them spiraled into a frenzy of accusations. Well, it's obvious a marriage between you two would only bring misery. I watched on and added. Amanda protested, but Wesley nodded deeply. I might have been wrong about everything. Wesley admitted. Cheating is wrong, no matter how you look at it. What kind of nonsense are you spouting? Save your dreams for when you're asleep. I get why you're cold to me, but now that I know everything, I can't see myself loving Amanda anymore. Huh? Amanda shouted, her voice sharp with anger. But Wesley ignored her fury and continued speaking. I realize I did something terrible. I feel guilty about Jeffrey too. I'll go apologize properly at his grave. A late apology won't bring Jeffrey peace, will it? Maybe it's better if you don't show your face at all. Don't say that. I want to make things right with you too. Didn't you just say you wanted to fix your marriage with Amanda? You were practically obsessed with her earlier. Quite the change of heart. My feelings shifted, okay. It happens. It's been, 10 minutes since your last declaration. How am I supposed to trust such shaky emotions? I'll prove myself. I'll work hard to earn your trust again. Just let me take back these divorce papers. With that, Wesley tried to snatch the divorce papers from my hands, but I quickly dodged, keeping them out of his reach. You don't need to try so hard. What? You should just stay happy with Amanda. I have no lingering feelings for you. What? What do you mean? I'm saying I won't let you withdraw the divorce. That's outrageous. You're the one who signed and handed me the papers in the first place. I'm just giving you what you wanted. That's not what I want anymore. Not my problem. Anyway, I hope you and the divorce expert enjoy your short, blissful marriage. Because you'll definitely split soon enough. Amanda glared at me after those words. We won't split up, she snapped bitterly. But Wesley, firmly disagreeing, shouted, I'm not marrying you. I nearly laughed at the absurdity as I ignored Wesley's attempts to stop me, grabbed the bags I'd packed earlier, and walked out of the house. After that, Wesley and I fought for a while, but eventually, we got divorced. And yes, I made sure to squeeze out a good amount of alimony, since it was a family scandal involving infidelity. Hiring a decent lawyer helped me claim a significant amount for emotional distress. I had been determined to live independently without relying on my family, so receiving that lump sum was genuinely a relief. As for Wesley and Amanda, they never did end up getting married. In her frustration over my revelations, Amanda scrambled to claim Wesley entirely as her own, but Wesley stubbornly refused to continue their relationship, and no wonder. Jeffrey's parents did try to sue Amanda afterward, but the lack of solid evidence made it difficult to proceed. Life can be harsh, I thought. Eventually, Jeffrey's parents, worn out from all the turmoil, decided to let it go. However, Jeffrey's childhood friend, Frances, started haunting Amanda. She didn't love Jeffrey romantically. She had always treated him like a younger brother, showering him with affection and care. Considering that, it was clear the grief of losing him hit her deeply. Frances often appears in front of Amanda. She doesn't harass her but quietly talks about how hard it has been since Jeffrey left. Apparently, she shows up in front of Wesley too and treats him the same way. Frances doesn't ask for money or anything. She just talks. But this seems to have hit them both like a slow, draining blow. Amanda, now worn down, apparently tried to confide in Wesley, but he coldly dismissed her, saying, "Don't drag me into this," as if he wasn't already a part of it. Eventually, Amanda's own parents turned their backs on her, snapping, "You started this mess yourself." Feeling cornered, Amanda even reached out to me, asking, "Can you do something about that woman?" Of course, I turned her down. I understood her feelings all too well. After being abandoned by everyone, Amanda tried apologizing to Frances. "I don't want an apology. I just want you to know that I will never forgive you, and I'll keep reminding you of that forever," she said, no matter how many times she apologized. This drove Amanda into hiding, claiming I might run into Frances if I go outside. She stopped working altogether. She's become almost like a shell of herself. Why didn't I cut ties with Amanda, you ask? It's because she was still paying alimony, and, frankly, I was curious about how her life would turn out. Not out of concern, but out of wanting to see the end of someone who had lived so recklessly. Once the alimony was fully paid, I finally cut ties. I've also grown distant from my parents. And you know what? I don't regret it one bit. I felt lighter. I thought I might feel lonely, but not at all. Now I live in a shared house with 6 other people. Remarry? Oh, no way. Marriage? Been there, done that, and I'm so over it. The divorce alone wore me out, but I'm not lonely at all. The people in this house are of all ages. Recently, a former resident brought her baby over and let me hold them. She introduced me as Grandma. "Hey, I'm not that old yet," I joked, but since it was her child, someone I've been so fond of, being Grandma didn't sound too bad. That's my little secret, though. On weekends, we cook meals together in the shared kitchen. When the weather's nice, we go hiking as a group. Younger folks come and stay here during their school years or tough financial times, and then they move on. I do miss them when they leave, of course, but most of them keep in touch, bringing their kids to visit or dropping by during holidays. It feels like we're still connected. They all say the same thing. This place feels like a second home. As for me, I've been here long enough that they call me Mom. There's another woman here who's a bit older than me, and she's called Grandma. She's only 5 years older than I am. We both laugh it off, saying, "Who are you calling Grandma?" And we're still young. And life goes on, happy and full of little joys every day. This weekend, we're planning to go on a trip with everyone, including the kids who've moved out of here. It's going to feel like one of those big group bus tours with the number of people we'll have. But I'm sure it'll be a blast. Lately, I've been thinking this is also a wonderful way for a family to be. Oh, speaking of good news, something exciting happened recently. I've always wanted to have a cat, but living in a rental place made me think it was impossible. Just as I was about to give up, it turns out Grandma had the same idea. She decided to conduct a quick survey among the residents to see if they would want a cat. The results showed that most of the current residents love cats, and thankfully, none of them have allergies. So with nothing to lose, we decided to consult the real estate company that manages our shared house. They mentioned that there's a growing trend of shared houses taking in rescue cats and caring for them. And now, even in our shared house, we're allowed to take care of cats. It really pays to ask, doesn't it? Thanks to this, we now have adorable calico and tabby cats filling our lives with happiness. Whenever we go on trips, the real estate company arranges for someone to come by and take care of the cats, so leaving home isn't a problem at all. We've created a setup where everyone can take turns looking after the cats without putting the burden on anyone. At night, when I'm asleep, they sometimes sneak into the room and curl up on my bed. They're just so adorable. This winter, I think I'll let these little fur balls keep me warm.
You didn't go to high school? Having a child at 18, that's just the worst. The scornful words felt like they were scratching down my back. I was trying to settle into our new environment when suddenly, Victoria, the mother of Alyssa's friend, appeared. She was a Harvard graduate, and her domineering presence and smug smile made me feel small. But for Alyssa, who was dedicated to her studies, I couldn't let this haughty woman get the better of me. Listen to the story of how I, with my modest education, fought back. I'm Hannah, a 30-year-old housewife. We are a family of 3, my daughter Alyssa, who is starting middle school, my supportive husband James, and me. We moved because of James's job, just as Alyssa was about to start middle school. I was both excited and anxious about starting a new life in an unfamiliar place, but I was also ready to take up something new now that our child rearing was settling down. Then came the first day of school. James was busy with work, so Alyssa and I attended the entrance ceremony together. Alyssa seemed nervous about starting school in a new place, but soon enough, she regained her usual enthusiasm. She's naturally outgoing and doesn't have trouble making friends. Seeing her chat with her new classmates put me at ease. Watching Alyssa, I felt inspired to do my best in this new place as well. And then I met Victoria. After the entrance ceremony, groups of friends began to gather in the schoolyard. I was still standing alone, feeling a bit lost, when Alyssa came running over with a new friend. "Mom, this is Chelsea. She's going to be in the same class as me. Nice to meet you." "Nice to meet you too. Have you already become friends?" "Yeah, we talked about joining the volleyball club together, so we decided to join it." "That's great. Chelsea, it's nice to meet you. Looking forward to seeing you around." As we were talking, a woman approached us from the lively group nearby. She was dressed head to toe in designer clothes and carried an expensive handbag. "Chelsea." "Oh, Mom. Did you make a new friend?" "Yes, I think we're going to join the same club." "That's wonderful. And this must be her mom?" "Nice to meet you. I'm Victoria, Chelsea's mom." "I'm Hannah, Alyssa's mom. Nice to meet you." Victoria looked me over from head to toe, as if assessing me. "Are you originally from here?" I don't think I saw you at the elementary school. You must be new around here. Feeling slightly conspicuous due to my unfamiliarity. Yes, we just moved here. I'm not very familiar with the school events yet, so I'd appreciate any guidance you could offer. I replied. Victoria smiled. We only have Chelsea, so I'm not that knowledgeable about middle school either. But don't worry, I have lots of friends with kids in middle school, so I can definitely help out. Thank you, that would be very helpful. Oh, I see someone I know over there. Just a moment. With that, Victoria brought over another friend. This is Alyssa's mom. They just moved here. Nice to meet you. I'm Alyssa's mom. Thank you for having us. As I introduced myself, Victoria turned to her friend and suggested, Hey, why don't we have a dinner party sometime? Our kids have made new friends, so we should get to know each other too. Since our kids are in the same club, we'll be seeing each other often at events. Hannah, let's exchange contact information. Then I exchanged contact information with Victoria and the other friends. After returning home, Alyssa and I both reported to James. Alyssa already made a friend in her class. Her name is Chelsea, and they are in the same club too. I got to know Chelsea's mom, Victoria, and we're going to have a dinner party with some other friends soon. James. Both of you already made friends, that's great. Was happy. At this time, I never thought this dinner would lead to Victoria looking down on me. Later, Victoria took the lead in organizing the dinner. I think I can get off work on this day. She sent the date on WhatsApp. The other friends agreed to the date, and I was looking forward to that day. The venue was a restaurant near the school. Victoria arrived 30 minutes late, but the dinner started in a pleasant mood. Victoria, you left work for this today, right? Are you okay? Yeah, no problem at all. I already took care of most things. She was very confident. Impressive. People who are good at their jobs are different, aren't they? Hearing that, I casually asked, Victoria, what kind of work do you do? Then another friend said, Oh, you don't know? She's working as a sales representative at the most promising startup, MNR. She's been getting new contracts one after another. That's amazing. Oh, that company. It's nothing special. And she graduated from Harvard University. She's great at raising her child too, really admirable. She smiled at the compliments. Well, yeah. Graduating from a good university makes it easier to get a job. That's why I want my daughter to go to a good university too. Thinking about your child's job prospects already, Harvard graduates are different after all. But with Victoria's child, it should be fine, right? I mean, Victoria's husband also graduated from Harvard, right? Really an elite family, so enviable. If you all work hard from now, you can get your children into good universities too. Really? Yeah, first you need to be careful about their friends. What do you mean? You know, this is a sensitive time, right? If they make strange friends, they might stop studying. So, I want Chelsea to be careful about the friends she associates with. I made eye contact with Victoria as she said that. This could be bad, because I don't have an education like Victoria. Moreover, I didn't go to high school. But Victoria aimed her questions at me like a predator. By the way, I don't know much about you, Hannah. Do you work? Well, I'm thinking of getting a part-time job at a supermarket. Oh, part-time? So, you're a housewife? Yes, I've been busy with child-rearing until now. Then she looked at me intently. By the way, Hannah, you look quite young. I thought you looked young because you were working, but that's not the case. How old are you? I'm 30. What? 30? You're young. So, you gave birth at 18? Yes. Does that mean you graduated from high school? No. What? You didn't go to high school? The room fell silent. Most people are surprised when I say I didn't go to high school, so I was honestly used to such reactions. At that time, I never imagined that my lack of higher education would lead to me being ostracized. But Victoria changed her attitude noticeably when she found out my age. Oh, you didn't go to high school? That must have been tough. What? I mean, it must have been hard to get a job, right? For someone like me with a higher education, it's easy to find a job. Oh, is that why you're a housewife? No, that's not it. Right, with that education level, you could probably only get a part-time job at a supermarket. What? Is your husband the same age as you? You must have had a hard time. It must be tough for a couple with no education. She said it as if she was being sympathetic, but I could tell she was mocking me. No, my husband is older, and he did go to school. Oh, that's good. Even though it made me uncomfortable, saying something back could make the situation worse. I held back my urge to argue. After that exchange with Victoria, nobody talked to me, and the dinner ended with almost no conversation. That night, I told James about what happened at the dinner. I thought I made some friends, but now they might all avoid me too. Don't be so down. Haven't you had good friends before? Nowadays, who discriminates based on education? Well, you'd understand if you were there. I don't know about the others, but Victoria was definitely looking down on me. Is she really that well educated? Yes, she graduated from Harvard and works at the same company as you. In sales, I heard. Do you know her? To someone like her, I must look inferior without an education. What are you talking about? I know how hard you always work, Hannah. Thank you. And I think decent people don't judge others based on education. Maybe I'll look into it. James muttered something like that. It's true, worrying about something that's over doesn't help. I decided not to worry too much about the dinner. But then one day, Alyssa told me something when she got home. Hey Mom, you're here? Yes, I am. Why? Chelsea said you guys were going to be late because of a dinner party, so I thought you might be out. What? Some of my friends from the club said the same thing. What? I checked WhatsApp just in case, but there were no messages since the last dinner. It seemed like I was the only one left out. Well, Alyssa gets along with her friends at school, so it's fine if I'm the only one left out. If they invite me again and I'm going to be looked down on like last time, I don't want to go. I even thought maybe I was lucky to be excluded. But then, I was looked down on by Victoria again. It was at the first parent-teacher meeting. I didn't want to see Victoria and the others, but I was curious about how Alyssa was doing at school, so I decided to go. When I entered the classroom, the other parents were there, and I greeted them, but they all seemed to avoid me. They were whispering and I could hear bits of their conversation. Isn't she the one who didn't go to high school and was a delinquent? Seems like it. Her husband was a delinquent too. What? A delinquent? And her husband too? The only correct part was that I didn't go to high school, but how did these rumors start spreading? Based on the context, it must have been Victoria who spread the rumors. I had braced myself for being avoided by the friends at the dinner party, but I never imagined the gossip would spread to parents I didn't even know. I wanted to correct the whispering parents, but they might not believe me if I suddenly approached them. I never thought it would come to this. As I let out a big sigh, Victoria and the dinner party members walked into the classroom together. They were conspicuously staying away from me. I thought it would be quickest to talk directly to the person who spread the rumor, so I approached her. "Hi, Victoria." "Hello. I wanted to talk to you." Even though I spoke to her, Victoria didn't look at me and instead turned to her friend beside her. "By the way, what was today's lesson?" she asked deliberately, ignoring me. As this was happening, the bell rang and class started. The lesson was in Spanish, and the teacher was having the students read aloud and asking about the meanings. While some students struggled to read or answer questions, Alyssa read fluently. The teacher praised her pronunciation, and Alyssa looked shy but pleased. Seeing this reassured me, but it seemed to provoke Victoria. After the class observation, Victoria stopped me. "Hannah, does Alyssa study Spanish outside of school?" "No, not particularly. I'm surprised she can read so fluently. I didn't think she was good at studying." "What?" "Because, if parents didn't graduate from high school, they can't teach Spanish." She's looking down on me again. Maybe she thinks she has to work hard because of her parents. "What?" "Because, with your low education level, you must have struggled, right?" She spoke to her friends, seeking their agreement. Seeing parents with low education, she probably doesn't want to end up the same way, so she's studying hard. "Poor thing." "What?" "Look at the time. I have to get to work." "Sorry, being highly educated and working keeps me quite busy. Bye." With that, she walked away surrounded by her friends. In the end, I was labeled among the parents as having a low education and being delinquent when I was young. A few days later, I noticed something strange about Alyssa. She hadn't seemed herself for the past few days. "What's wrong? Is something bothering you?" Even though I asked. "No, I'm fine," she said, but she looked down and seemed troubled. I wondered if the label attached to me was affecting Alyssa. Around that time, Alyssa had a club match, and even though she wasn't participating, she said she would go to cheer. So, I discussed it with James, and we decided to go see how Alyssa was doing. During the preparation and exercises before the match, we saw that Alyssa was being left out by her classmates, standing alone. "What?" Alyssa had told us she was getting along well with Chelsea and other classmates in the club. But today, no one was by her side. In fact, they were keeping their distance from her. Alyssa was looking down but trying her best to cheer for the team. After the match, we found Alyssa and talked to her. "Recently, Chelsea and the others have been ignoring me," she said. "What?" "It seems her mom told them not to be friends with me." "When did it start?" "Around the time of the parent-teacher conference. No one would be friends with me in class or in the club." Alyssa had kept quiet about this to avoid worrying us. But hearing this, I felt a deep, burning anger rising from within me. It's one thing to look down on me, but dragging Alyssa into it is unforgivable. "I'm going to have a word with Victoria." James nodded firmly. I walked over to where Victoria was chatting in the bleachers. "Hey, I need to talk to you." I confronted her, but she wouldn't even look my way. So childish, I thought. "Weren't you taught to look at people when you're talking to them? I can't believe this from someone so elite." I spat out sarcastically. She turned to glare at me. "Don't act all high and mighty with your low education. I graduated from Harvard. I don't waste my time talking to idiots who can't even study. Just get out of here." Her hysterical shouting drew the attention of those around us. I tried to stay calm and choose my words carefully. "You've been spreading rumors, haven't you? Sure, I might not have the best education, but I'm not a delinquent. Even if you don't like me, Dragging our kids into it is wrong, don't you think? If parents are poorly educated, it affects their children too. Having a child so young, your teenage years must have been pretty messed up. What? That's why you got pregnant at 18, isn't it? What if your bad influence rubs off on my child? I did have my child at 18, but I took my responsibilities seriously. Stop judging people based on your assumptions. You're probably just making things up. Anyone can say whatever they want about their past. And what about you? Are you so perfect that you can judge others? What are you talking about? I graduated from Harvard and hold a high position in my job. Your husband probably has a low education and a poor job too, right? Just as she screamed those words, "That's enough speculation," a familiar male voice interrupted. What? Who are you? We've met before, haven't we? It was James standing there. Excuse me, but aren't you the Victoria who works part-time at our company? Boss? What are you doing here? This made the crowd buzz even more. James continued. I am Hannah's husband and Alyssa's dad. What? The boss? So, Hannah is the boss's wife? Victoria stared at me, wide-eyed. But Hannah has a low education, right? Did you deceive him? I heard the boss graduated from Harvard and studied abroad. I thought his wife must be a distinguished graduate from a renowned university. Hannah is remarkable. She gave up her education to support me. She even learned Spanish on her own to help us when we lived abroad. Yes, we had lived overseas, and both Alyssa and I could speak everyday Spanish. Wait, so Alyssa is good at Spanish too? I don't know if she's good at it, but she did spend time abroad. But Hannah works a part-time job. I said she wanted to try working since she's always been focused on raising kids, so I suggested she try a part-time job. Oh, I thought it was because she was struggling financially. I'm sorry, Mr. President. I didn't know. That's not the issue here. It's wrong for parents, who should be setting a good example, to teach their kids discrimination. I'm saying this as a fellow parent. James's stern words made Victoria fall silent. I asked what I was curious about. James, is Victoria really part-time? That's different from what I heard. I checked the employee data, and it's correct. She's a part-time administrative assistant supporting sales. James didn't say it loudly. But our friends who overheard our conversation started murmuring. What? Part-time? That's not what I heard. And admin work? I thought she was closing deals left and right. Were we lied to? Could the Harvard degree also be a lie? Such conversations filled the air, and feeling awkward, Victoria left in a hurry. Later, a friend I became close to told me that Victoria had been bragging about being successful in sales and even being in charge of training new hires. It seems she had exaggerated a lot. But because of this incident, my label changed from undereducated delinquent to the CEO's wife. Even those parents who had avoided me started talking to me normally, and interactions among parents became smoother. Alyssa also stopped being excluded at school. As for Victoria, she stopped showing off in front of other parents altogether. In fact, she stopped appearing at all. James found out that the Harvard degree was also a lie. She lost her credibility and stopped attending school-related events. She also left his company. The reason she quit was her own doing. There had been multiple complaints about her work attitude from her department, so the company didn't renew her contract. And it seems she got divorced. Chelsea, who reconciled with Alyssa, came over and told me. It turns out Alyssa and Chelsea had made up after all. Victoria and her husband were always fighting and had been living apart. Chelsea was taken in by her dad. Now, she works part-time at a supermarket in the neighboring town. It's hilarious that someone who looked down on others so much is now working part-time herself. Since then, I've been going to support Alyssa's club activities frequently and have become friends with other parents. Of course, no one cares about academic backgrounds. On the contrary, knowing James is a CEO seems to have increased their trust. And now, I'm carrying a new life inside me. Alyssa is thrilled to have a sibling. I'm so happy thinking about having another adorable child. Life's happiness isn't measured by education or career. I'll continue to live humbly, appreciating the everyday moments. I'm divorcing you to marry Ashley. I was shocked when my husband, Mark, declared that. What? I was dumbfounded, and my sister, Ashley, spoke in a sweet voice. Margaret, I'm sorry. We love each other. It was incomprehensible, but apparently true. They wanted to have a wedding, and I was beyond angry. I was just stunned. Feeling ridiculous, I decided to leave home immediately. And then, a few months later, the day of their wedding finally arrived. I took out my mobile phone and tapped the screen. There on the screen was a view of a wedding venue. I saw Ashley in a dress and Mark in a tuxedo. They were looking around nervously. No one had shown up, and they were clearly confused. Watching this scene, I couldn't help but laugh. Let them sweat it out. This wedding itself was my stage for revenge. My name is Margaret, and I'm 52 years old. I've been working in an insurance company's office for a long time. My family consists of my husband, Mark, and my son, Daniel. Daniel recently graduated from college and got a job. He has moved out and now lives alone near his company. Although I felt a bit lonely after raising him, honestly, I was relieved. Now, I can enjoy my life. Travel, hobbies, and such. That was the future I should have had. But our family has a big problem. That problem is Ashley. Ashley is my sister, 10 years younger than me. For various reasons, she still lives with us. Ashley, much younger than me, was spoiled by our parents. As a result, she has a rather selfish personality. Even now, at 42 years old, she hasn't changed a bit. I've been troubled by her actions many times before. But I never imagined she would turn my life upside down like this. The beginning of all this goes back 18 years. At that time, Ashley was 24. I was already married to Mark and busy raising our child. I wasn't particularly close with Ashley, so I only saw her occasionally when I went back to my parents' home. Though she had been selfish as a child, Ashley was now an adult. Surely, she must have matured at least a little bit. However, our parents said she hadn't changed at all. She was living at home, not doing any housework, and constantly complaining to our parents. She hated working, only occasionally doing part-time jobs when she felt like it. I'm worried about her future if she continues like this. I think she'll grow up a bit if she gets married, so we need to find her a husband soon. Isn't it more important for her to start doing housework and working properly? Getting married in her current state. Conversations like this between my mom and me were common. I thought my mom's words were just complaints, but she actually found Ashley a husband. His name was Thomas. He worked for a big company and was the same age as her. He was kind and perfect as a marriage partner. Our parents strongly encouraged Ashley to marry him. As a result, she really did get married. She should have matured after starting her own family. But our parents' hopes were completely shattered. Ashley called me every day with complaints. Listen, Margaret, it was my birthday the other day, right? But Thomas only said happy birthday in the morning. Can you believe that? As usual, I responded lightly to Ashley, who was indignant. So, what about it? It was too late. If he doesn't congratulate me the moment the date changes, it doesn't count. And the necklace he got me was from a brand I don't even like. Can you believe it? That's just being selfish. Ignoring my scolding, she raised her voice even more. No, it's not. It's only natural that my wishes should be fulfilled. Here we go again, I thought, and sighed quietly to myself. This kind of petty complaint about Thomas was Ashley's daily routine. At first, she had called our parents, but her complaints were so frequent that even they got fed up. They started making excuses not to answer her calls, so she began contacting me instead. She thinks the world revolves around her. If things don't go her way, she does nothing but complain and grumble. At first, I listened, but gradually, I started responding half-heartedly. If I kept taking her seriously, I'd wear myself out. Apparently, it wasn't just me and our parents who felt that way. Thomas was exhausted too. Despite not doing much housework and always making excuses, Ashley would insist on getting her favorite foods and brands, making Thomas stand in long lines at famous stores. If he refused, she'd get angry, saying he didn't love her enough. She needed constant praise from Thomas, or she'd sulk and ignore him for days. After enduring this for so long, Thomas finally reached his breaking point. He left divorce papers and walked out. It had only been 6 months since they got married. Ashley was furious at him and ranted intensely. Our parents were frantic, and family meetings were held daily. But I remained calm. This outcome was inevitable. Ashley decided to leave the apartment she shared with Thomas and move back to our parents' house. Back to the old life, I thought. Then, suddenly, tragedy struck. Our parents died in a car accident. They had gone out shopping when they were hit by another car and never came back. Ashley and I were in deep shock. But there was no time to grieve. While still in a daze, we had to handle the funeral and other arrangements. What's this? From a shelf in our parents' house, we found a stack of envelopes. Opening them, we discovered they were debt collection notices. The amount was substantial. I had no idea they had this much debt. What did they spend it on? Upon closer inspection, I saw that several credit cards were maxed out. And there were multiple cards. That's when I remembered our parents' words. They had given Ashley a few cards because she shopped a lot. Ashley, what's the meaning of this? I immediately confronted her, yelling. What? What are you talking about? Don't play dumb. What did you spend this money on? When I shoved the notices in her face, she laughed. Clothes, bags, good food, and trips. You can't live without fun, you know. What? Her response was absurd. The cards were in our dad's name, so he must have been paying while he was alive, but there was still a lot left to pay off. I felt dizzy with fear. It's okay, Margaret. You can pay it off, Ashley said cheerfully. No way. Why should I pay for it? Because I don't like working. Come on, Margaret, please. Don't be ridiculous. Why should I pay off her debts? I was trembling with anger, clenching my fists. But somehow, the debt had to be repaid. Ashley seemed unwilling to pay, so I desperately thought about what to do. In the end, I concluded that we had to sell our parents' house. Though not new, the house was in a prime location. We might be able to cover the debt if we sold it. So, we proceeded with the sale, and it fetched a good price. I felt relieved. But only for a moment. Hey, where am I supposed to live? I was planning to move back to our parents' house, but now it's sold. Glancing at Ashley, who was loudly complaining, I said coldly, "Go wherever you want." "Then maybe I'll live at your place, Margaret." "What?" She said something outrageous again. "I don't have anywhere else to go. It's not like I have a choice." Was she trying to be sweet? I glared at Ashley, who wore a sly smile. Mark and I had recently bought a house. We even made it a two-family house, thinking about the future. We had enough space for 2 or 3 more people. But living with this selfish Ashley. Just as I was about to refuse, I remembered Mom's words. "If anything happens to us, can you take care of Ashley? She's still like a child in many ways, so please." Indeed, she wasn't self-sufficient. The thought of leaving her to fend for herself didn't sit well with me. I sighed. Then, in a weary voice, I said, "Just for a while. Once you find a job and can rent a place of your own, you have to move out." "Yay! I knew I could count on you, Margaret." Her delighted smile irritated me. Reluctantly, I told Mark that Ashley would be living with us for a while. Mark responded nonchalantly. "Ashley, huh? It's sad to be left without a place to go right after a divorce. She can stay with us as long as she needs." "No way. You don't know Ashley at all." I had told him about Ashley's selfishness, but without having a sister, Mark couldn't imagine it. He probably thought her whims were cute. I feared that my life would be turned upside down by Ashley. That fear proved correct. "Hey, are we having fish fry for dinner again? I'm so tired of it," Ashley complained while eating the dinner I made. "Again? It was about a week ago. If you're tired of it, cook for yourself." "I can't cook." "Then don't complain." Ashley laughed. "It's not a complaint, just an opinion." She's been like this ever since she started living with us. She doesn't help with housework, nor does she seem to be looking for a job. She only helps out at a friend's pub twice a week and has no intention of getting a full-time job. Though I appreciated her playing with my young son, Daniel. I couldn't be thankful. Once, she let Daniel get burned by the fireplace when she got distracted by TV. Another time, she ignored Daniel at a shopping center and he got lost. I was growing increasingly frustrated. "Hey, Mark. About Ashley, she still hasn't found a job, doesn't help with housework, and can't even take care of Daniel properly. I want her to leave." I seized the chance to complain to Mark while she was out. But his response was as laid back as ever. "Come on, Ashley is just leaning on you because you're her big sister. Can't you be more understanding? She's polite and kind when she's with me. And some people just aren't good at housework. Maybe you're the one to blame for going back to work full-time so soon after giving birth, leaving no time to take care of Daniel. You're pushing that responsibility onto Ashley." "What are you talking about? I went back to work full-time because of the mortgage and Daniel's education expenses." Mark gave me a cold look as I quickly responded. "You're saying it's because my salary is low, right?" "I didn't say that." It was the same old story. Mark often defended Ashley. She never showed her true colors in front of men, but every conversation led to Mark criticizing my job. He didn't seem to like that I worked full-time. He wanted me to quit my job and stay at home. Our discussions always ended on a sour note. Then one day, an incident occurred. "Hey, Mom. My video game is missing." "What?" Daniel, now in elementary school, spoke to me with tears in his eyes. It was the game I had bought him for his last birthday. I couldn't believe it was already lost. We searched the house, but couldn't find it anywhere. This is strange. What's going on? I couldn't believe it, but I looked in the trash can and was shocked. There, discarded, was a receipt. It was from a thrift store and listed the game I had bought for Daniel. Purchase amount, $50. What is this? Someone had sold the game. There was only one person in the house who would do such a thing. Ashley, you sold Daniel's game, didn't you? Ah. You caught me already? I thought she would pretend not to know, but Ashley admitted it right away. Sorry, I ran out of money this month. But isn't that game popular now? I'm glad it sold for a good price. Thanks a lot. Hearing this, Daniel started crying. I couldn't take it anymore. How could you? Selling a child's belongings without permission is unbelievable. I can't live with someone who does that. Get out now. I shouted in anger. Ashley immediately started whining. You don't have to be so mad. Kicking me out is too harsh. There's no one else I can rely on since Mom and Dad are gone. Tears started flowing from her eyes. Stop it. I didn't care if Ashley ended up on the street. But when she mentioned our parents, I lost my resolve. Mom's words, if anything happens, take care of Ashley, echoed in my mind. After much hesitation, I reluctantly forgave Ashley. We'd have to buy the game back. Feeling exasperated, I told her. Don't ever sell our family's things without permission again. If you do, I won't forgive you. Okay. She seemed unfazed. It was doubtful whether she felt any remorse. This pattern continued for 18 years. There were many conflicts during that time, but Ashley's tears and Mark's defense of her kept things as they were. Meanwhile, Daniel grew up. He graduated from high school and college, got a job, and moved out, but Ashley was still living with us. I was 52, and Ashley was 42. One day, when I came home from work and walked into the living room, I saw Ashley sitting up straight, which was unusual. Next to her was Mark, looking serious. Margaret, come here. We need to talk. Feeling suspicious, I sat down facing Mark and Ashley. Now that Daniel has started his job, I think it's a good time. A good time for what? I couldn't grasp what he was trying to say. What on earth was Mark getting at? Ashley had a sly smile on her face. Mark cleared his throat and declared firmly, I'm divorcing you to marry Ashley. What? The situation was too absurd for me to comprehend. Margaret, I'm sorry. We love each other. Love each other? Are you joking? It's no joke. We've been nurturing our love since Ashley moved in 18 years ago. I was so shocked I thought my eyes would pop out. I couldn't understand what they were saying. Mark blushed and continued. Living together, I realized how charming Ashley is. She's sweet and affectionate, unlike always angry Margaret. Talking about this now makes me blush. Oh. Mark. You're embarrassing me. They looked at each other lovingly. What was I witnessing? But I feel relieved now. I've been wanting to tell you, Margaret. Of course, we're going to have a wedding. You'll bless us, right? It's your sister's happiness. Are you out of your mind? This is insane. Oh, Margaret, you're scary. Ashley clung to Mark, visibly frightened. Mark gently embraced her. I stood up from my chair. If I stayed here any longer, I felt like I would lose it. Filled with anger, I packed my things and left the house without a word. Immediately, I called Daniel. I had to tell him about the twisted truth. Dad and Ashley were nurturing a strange love. Fortunately, Daniel picked up right away. When I explained the situation, he told me to come over so we could talk. I took the train and visited Daniel's apartment where he lived alone.
Dad and Ashley? That's insane.
Daniel, who welcomed me in, looked disgusted. Of course. He couldn't bless them in such a situation.
Exactly. It's so disgusting. I can't believe it.
But looking back, there were signs. They used to sneak out together. And Ashley, she stole my video games to sell and even took food from my plate. How could Dad fall for someone like her? Nodding emphatically at Daniel, who had clearly lost respect for Mark, I said.
And now they want to have a wedding. It's unbelievable.
Daniel interrupted my endless rant. Speaking of the wedding. What he said next shocked me. How many times had I been shocked today? I listened to Daniel's plan, my heart pounding.
If the timing is right, we could get revenge on those two.
You mean? Daniel smiled a sly smile. When had he started making such expressions? It was a side of Daniel I didn't know, but it showed just how much Ashley had bothered him. I deeply regretted letting someone like her into our home. After that, Daniel and I had several discussions. We decided to put a certain plan into action. I wanted Ashley and Mark to realize their foolishness. That was my intent. Surely, our parents in heaven would understand. Ashley, who had betrayed me after all I had done for her, and Mark, who sided with her. I couldn't forgive them. I was determined to get revenge. I quickly arranged to stay at a hotel. For the time being, I could commute to work from there. Daniel offered to let me stay with him, but I didn't want to impose any further. Besides, the hotel near my office was well equipped and comfortable. It cost money, but as a full-time worker, I had enough savings to manage for a while. Mark had always complained about me working full-time, but in times like these, having money was useful. A few weeks later, Daniel contacted me.
Mom, I got a wedding invitation from Dad and Ashley. There's one for you too. They think you're staying with me.
Perfect. Daniel, how's our plan?
It's all set.
Then let's start. I had already sent the divorce papers to Mark, and they were filed. So, I didn't care if Mark and Ashley got married or did whatever they wanted. But sending a wedding invitation after stealing my husband? How brazen could they be? Their nerve was astonishing. I'm sure they were spending their days excitedly planning their wedding. But life doesn't always go as planned. Ashley needed to learn that. Our revenge was ready. I looked forward to the wedding day. Months passed. Finally, the day of their wedding arrived. I put on the chic dress I had bought for this day. Taking the train to the venue, I saw that the relatives were already gathered. After greeting them lightly, I opened the door to the waiting room. There stood Daniel in a tuxedo. Daniel, congratulations on your wedding.
Thanks, Mom.
Yes, today was Daniel's wedding day. He was marrying his girlfriend from college. Since his company might transfer him in the future, he thought it was a good idea to establish their home base now. The day I rushed to Daniel's place, he shared his thoughts with me. Of course, I had already met Daniel's girlfriend. Her name was Lisa. She was a serious and polite woman, leaving no room for complaint.
Lisa is strong. Everything will go smoothly if we follow her lead,
Daniel said with a smile, and I welcomed the idea of having such a dependable woman as Daniel's wife. However, talking about this made me realize that my role as a parent was truly coming to an end. Of course, there was a bit of sadness. But the overwhelming feeling was one of joy that he had grown up well.
By the way, how are things over there?
Oh, over there? Let me check. With that, I took out my mobile phone. Tapping the screen, I saw the scene at a certain wedding venue. There were Ashley in her dress and Mark in his tuxedo. They were looking around frantically. They seemed puzzled that no one had shown up for their wedding. I couldn't help but laugh at the sight. Daniel's wedding and their wedding were on the same day. Of course, at different venues. Their venue was a bit far from here, but I had explained the situation and managed to get a camera set up there. It was connected to my mobile phone so I could see what was happening. Naturally, they had no idea. This was our plan. We arranged for Ashley and Mark's wedding to be on the same day. I had told our relatives everything in advance. They were all outraged by Ashley's outrageous behavior and Mark's foolishness. They agreed to cooperate with our plan. We had sent RSVPs to Ashley's invitations, saying we would attend, but we were all actually here at Daniel's wedding. So there was no way guests would show up at Ashley and Mark's wedding. Of course, we hadn't told their friends, so they might have some people show up. But it turned out that no one did. It must have been because of Ashley and Mark's bad behavior. They didn't have any friends left to invite to their wedding.
How about showing me?
Daniel peeked at my phone screen. He laughed out loud, just like I did. I turned up the volume to hear what was being said.
Mark, no one's here. What's going on? Did you forget to send out the invitations?
Of course not. You checked them too, remember? Maybe I wrote the wrong venue on the invitations. Mark was panicking, and Ashley yelled at him.
Stop joking. I'm the bride today. I'm supposed to be the most beautiful one here, and no one gets to see me? This is unacceptable.
Ashley, in her gaudy dress, was furious. The scene was so absurd that it felt like a comedy.
Honestly, who would want to celebrate a wedding for such selfish people?
Right, they deserve this punishment. We nodded in agreement. Then, Daniel's wedding began. Lisa, the bride, looked stunning, far more beautiful than Ashley in her dress. And Daniel, who had decided to take on the responsibilities of family life. I was deeply moved by his determined expression, realizing that he was no longer a child. The food was delicious, and the conversations with relatives were lively. I enjoyed the wonderful wedding, forgetting about Ashley and Mark. As the wedding neared its end, it was time to see the guests off. We handed out gifts and took photos with each person. The atmosphere was warm and cheerful. Suddenly, there was a commotion in the lobby. When I looked to see what was happening, I saw a shocking sight. Ashley and Mark had barged in. Both were sweaty and out of breath, and Ashley's dress was dirty, as if she had fallen somewhere. How did they find us?
So, this is where you are.
Mark's voice startled the relatives. They were briefly confused, but quickly began ignoring Mark and Ashley as if nothing had happened. Just as I had instructed them. I had told everyone beforehand to completely ignore Ashley and Mark if they ever tried to get involved again. I stopped Daniel, who was about to step forward. I couldn't let him deal with this on such an important day. I had to settle this myself. How did you find us?
No one showed up, so I thought something was wrong. I figured the invitations might have had the wrong venue, so I called nearby wedding venues. They said there was a wedding here.
Mark was red-faced with anger. Ashley glared at me. But her ridiculous appearance made it hard to take her seriously. Her makeup was smudged with sweat, and her dress was so dirty it looked like a rag. Perfect timing. Since everyone is here, we'll just hold our wedding here.
What? What are you talking about?
Ashley, saying something outrageous, brushed past me and walked towards Daniel and the others. She fixed her eyes on Lisa.
Move aside. I'm the main attraction today.
With that, Ashley charged at Lisa.
What are you doing? Get away, Lisa!
The moment I shouted, a tremendous noise echoed around. Ashley was on the floor of the lobby. When I looked at Lisa, she was calmly looking down at Ashley.
I've practiced judo since I was a child.
Lisa had thrown Ashley with a one-arm shoulder throw. When Daniel said, "Lisa is strong," he meant it in more ways than one. While I was thoroughly impressed, Mark rushed to the fallen Ashley.
Ashley, Ashley! Get up! Hey, what did you do? That's what I should be asking you, Dad.
Daniel defended Lisa and shouted loudly.
Mom and I have put up with Ashley for a long time. And now, you're suddenly divorcing Mom and marrying her?
I've been disappointed in your poor judgment for a long time. Daniel spat these words at Mark, who shouted back in frustration.
How dare you speak to your parent like that?
I stepped in between them. Have you had enough? Take Ashley and leave.
What did you say? If people like you are at Daniel's wedding, it's a nuisance. Don't ever get involved with us again.
Mark fell silent. Then Ashley, who had just woken up, muttered.
I'm the star here. Everyone look at me.
As she tried to stand up, Lisa spoke with a laugh.
Your underwear is showing. What?
Perhaps from the one-arm shoulder throw, Ashley's dress had torn, and her underwear was completely visible. Even Ashley couldn't bear this.
Don't look at me. Let's go home, Mark. Hurry.
Yeah. Ashley was carried out by Mark.
First she says to look at her, then not to.
Make up your mind. Lisa and Daniel laughed at my words. For now, the storm had passed. Ashley and Mark had been humiliated in front of everyone. Hopefully, this would teach them a lesson and make them better people. But their misfortune didn't end there. Mark's company went through a downturn and started laying off employees. He received some severance pay, but it was mostly consumed by the debt accumulated from Ashley's spending. During the 18 years they lived with us, Ashley had secretly taken money from him. Considering she had even sold Daniel's video games, she must have been desperate for money, but I never imagined she had piled up such debt again. Mark urgently looked for a new job. However, being over 50 with no particular skills, it was tough. Days passed without any job offers, and money kept flowing out. Originally, they planned to use the severance pay to finish paying off their mortgage, but that was no longer possible, so they had to sell their house. They ended up living in a motel. Now, Mark was working a part-time job. Ashley had lost her job when the pub she worked at closed. Having never worked properly before, Ashley was unlikely to start now. She would continue to live by leeching off others. And her target had become Mark. Once, while walking around town, I saw them. Ashley and Mark were scavenging discarded food behind a supermarket. They looked emaciated from not eating properly.
I want steak. Do something, Mark. I'm sorry, but all I can get is this.
Mark handed over expired bread from the discard cart.
I'm fed up with this life.
Ashley cried out. But she couldn't leave Mark, who was supporting her. At this point, they would fall into ruin together. Watching this, I felt a pang of pity and walked away. It was a cruel ending, but inevitable. There was nothing more I could do than to stay away from them. As for me, my years of service were recognized, and I was promoted to manager. I left the hotel and rented a spacious apartment. With this space, Daniel and his family could visit without feeling cramped. Later, Daniel and Lisa had a baby girl. Visiting my granddaughter has become my recent joy.
That one-arm shoulder throw was impressive, Lisa.
Lisa blushed and smiled.
Margaret, please forget about it. It's embarrassing. But this little one has your blood, so she'll be strong too. She has a big appetite,
he said happily while playing with the baby.
That's good. Health is the most important thing.
We chatted about many trivial things. I was amazed at how peaceful life was without Ashley. Although my plans had changed a bit, my life was still ahead of me. I wanted to continue enjoying each day.
Stop it! Grandma, help!
Outside the front door, I heard Madison calling for help. I hurriedly turned off the stove and rushed to the front door.
What are you doing there?
It was Sabrina, the daughter-in-law who had abandoned her child 3 years ago, trying to forcefully push Madison into a car by grabbing his arm. Madison bit Sabrina's hand, and while she flinched, he ran to my side.
Madison, why would you do something so awful? I am your mother. What kind of mother are you?
Anger towards Sabrina exploded inside me.
If you were really a mother, you wouldn't leave your child behind. You are not fit to be a mother. And now you show up trying to take my son away. What face are you putting on? You, a stranger, have no right to interfere with our happiness. You're quite presumptuous, aren't you? Then what about Madison's feelings? Have you even thought about the child for a second in these 3 years?
The issue is Madison's will.
It's up to Madison whether he wants to continue living with us or choose you. That's for Madison to decide. Madison, of course, you want to live with me, your mother. Who else bore you with such pain? It's obvious who's in front of you. So, the answer should be clear. You can be honest with your feelings. You don't have to mind anyone. If it's your decision, I won't say anything anymore.
Believing that Madison would choose me, I dared to say such things. Then Madison, pointing at Sabrina, said,
I want to live with Mom.
How can this be? I was at a loss for words, never expecting Madison to choose his mother who had abandoned him. My name is Lila, I'm 63. When our eldest son, Morton, got married, my husband and I started living with Morton and his wife. Madison was not Morton's child, but Sabrina's child from a previous marriage, yet we cherished him as our own grandchild. With his charming and affectionate smile, Madison would call us
Grandma, Grandpa.
And we would smile back, feeling the urge to buy him anything he wanted. Seeing this, Morton would chuckle and advise,
Don't spoil the child too much just because he's cute.
And we would laugh like children caught in mischief.
Madison is so dear to us, it wouldn't hurt if he was in our eyes.
That was our couple's catchphrase. Then one day, Morton came home downcast, having failed his company's annual health checkup.
You seem very down. Did the doctor say something?
I asked, worried about Morton's gloomy demeanor, and he looked up saying,
I need a re-examination. It might be worse than I imagined, but there could be a mistake. Yeah, who can rely on what doctors say?
I tried to keep our spirits up, but the re-examination revealed a harsh reality. The family was called to the hospital, and the doctor told us, It's terminal cancer, stage 4. It took me a moment to comprehend the doctor's words.
This man just got married to the woman he loves, about to start a happy life, and this happens. It's absurd.
Venting my anger at the doctor wouldn't change the outcome, but I was at a loss for where to direct my feelings, and the doctor silently took it in.
Grandma, don't cry. Dad will be all right.
Madison rubbed my back. His brave attitude further stirred my emotions, and I couldn't stop my tears. Ever since Madison came to our home, he had grown quite fond of Morton as a father. Madison, holding back his tears, stayed close to me. When Morton's emergency hospitalization was decided, I went back home to get his clothes and toiletries.
Wait, where's Sabrina?
I realized I hadn't seen my daughter-in-law Sabrina anywhere. I searched the house, called her mobile phone several times, but got no response.
Really? Where could she be when her husband is in such a condition?
I was frustrated, and Sabrina rarely visited Morton's hospital room thereafter. Morton.
Dad!
Morton passed away unexpectedly in less than a month, and both Madison and I cried our hearts out. Perhaps due to his youth, the cancer cells spread quickly. Morton left us for heaven at the young age of 39, leaving his parents behind.
At a time like this, where is Sabrina?
Reynold, next to us breaking down in tears, vented his anger towards Sabrina. Sabrina hadn't shown her face in the hospital room even once during this time. Afterwards, the funeral was hastily arranged, and we were too busy dealing with relatives and condolence visitors to immerse ourselves in grief. Madison, though young, diligently entertained the guests who came. Seeing this, the relatives, with tears in their eyes, murmured, "How brave he is. Despite being so young, Madison is so admirable." Hearing this, the sorrow I had been holding back surged forth again. In contrast, as for Sabrina.
At a time like this, what is Sabrina doing?
A while ago, she took a taxi somewhere. A relative who had seen Sabrina reported to us. We were dumbfounded by Sabrina's attitude, hardly befitting a wife. And before the wound of Morton's death could heal, Sabrina left us with nothing but a note saying,
"Thank you for everything. Please take good care of Madison from now on. Mom's not here?"
Madison, waking up to that reality in the morning, couldn't grasp the fact that his mother had abandoned him and started crying.
How could a mother be so terrible?
Reynold, veins throbbing at his temples, yelled loudly. Madison has no blood relation to us. He is Morton's stepchild, son of Sabrina. Now that Morton is gone and Sabrina has left the house, Madison has become a complete stranger to us.
Madison, what shall we do now?
What else can we do? We'll have to ask relatives to take him in. Reynold said it in a somewhat cold manner, but upon reflection, that was the realistic choice. However, as far as we knew, the only relative of Sabrina's was her mother, who must be quite old now and living in a retirement home.
It's impossible to ask such a person to take care of a grandchild. That's true.
We were at a loss, racking our brains over what to do. That evening, Madison had not returned from school. Normally, he would have already been home, eating the snacks I prepared. Worried, I called the school, and the teacher told me that Madison had left at his usual time. Even after calling friends and likely guardians. "I don't know," was all the response I got.
"I'm going to look outside."
I dashed out and found a child's shadow swinging on a swing in a park a little away from our home.
"Madison!"
As I rushed towards him, Madison stood up and started running in the opposite direction.
"Wait, Madison! Why are you running away?"
Madison stopped and turned around.
"Grandma and Grandpa are strangers to me, right? So I shouldn't stay in that house anymore." "What silly thing are you saying? Neither Grandpa nor I have ever thought of you as a stranger."
Madison stood frozen, tears streaming down his face.
"Come back. You are an important part of our family." "Is it really okay? Even if I stay in that house?" "If Morton died and then Madison went somewhere too, we would be lonely. Please, will you always stay with us?"
Madison wiped his tears with the back of his hand.
"Okay. I'll live with you, Grandma."
He ran towards me and hugged me tightly. Thus, Madison continued to live with us as before. 3 years have passed, and Madison turned 11.
"Today, we played baseball in gym class. Guess what? I hit a home run. Isn't that amazing? That's amazing. Maybe you will be a baseball player in the future?
I don't know about that. I want to do well in my studies too, so being a sports player is probably not for me. Madison tells me everything that happens at school when he comes home. When I bake pancakes and feed them to a hungry Madison.
Grandma's pancakes are the best in the world.
Although he didn't have a mother, Madison was growing up well in a warm and leisurely environment. One day, I received a call from a fellow guardian.
There's a suspicious woman asking around about Madison. A suspicious woman? What kind of woman?
Piecing together the witness information, it seemed that the woman bore a resemblance to Sabrina. Leaving behind a child one has given birth to, no matter the circumstances, is something I cannot comprehend. And now, what face does she have, coming to inquire after all this time? Regardless, we were vigilant every day against the possibility of Sabrina attempting to take Madison back. And then, that day came unexpectedly. As the time approached for Madison to come home, I started baking his favorite pancakes. Soon, the doorbell should ring, and I would hear Madison's voice filled with energy saying,
"I'm home."
With that expectation, I concentrated my ears outside, when suddenly,
"Stop it! Grandma, help!"
I heard Madison's voice calling for help from outside the front door. I hurriedly turned off the stove and rushed to the front door.
"What are you doing there?"
It was Sabrina, trying to forcefully push Madison into a car by grabbing his arm. Madison bit Sabrina's hand, and while she flinched, he ran to my side.
"Madison, why would you do something so awful? I am your mother. What kind of mother are you?"
Anger towards Sabrina exploded inside me.
"If you were really a mother, you wouldn't leave your child behind. You are not fit to be a mother. And now you show up trying to take my son away. What face are you putting on?" "What face, you ask?" "This face. I am undoubtedly Madison's mother. You, a stranger, have no right to tell me anything."
When I told Madison, "Go inside the house," Sabrina also tried to enter the house.
"Wait a minute. Who said you could come in? Outsiders, please leave. I have no intention of giving him back to a mother like you now. You, a stranger, have no right to interfere with our happiness." "Our happiness? What do you mean by that?" "I have someone I love now. His parents are finally about to accept our marriage. Of course, they have accepted Madison too. This is my chance to be happy." "You're quite presumptuous, aren't you?" "Then what about Madison's feelings? Have you even thought about him for a second in these 3 years?"
Sabrina, frustrated, scratched her hair violently.
"I've waited 3 years. Just a little more and I'll be happy. You have no blood relation to Madison, you're just a stranger. Why do you have the right to stop our happiness?"
I was caught off guard by Sabrina's statement.
"Wait a minute. You said you've waited 3 years, right now?"
"So what?"
3 years ago, that's when Morton was still fighting his illness."
Sabrina made a displeased face and said,
"Damn it."
But then she brazenly continued,
"So what? What does that have to do with now?"
"It has everything to do with it.
You were fooling around with another man even while your husband was suffering from illness, hardly ever visiting him. And you dare call yourself Madison's mother? The real bore was him. Getting sick and dying so easily after marrying me. I prefer younger and healthier men."
Forgetting her own infidelity, Sabrina not only disparaged me but also spoke ill of Morton, who had passed away.
Truly appalling. Anyway, I have absolutely no intention of handing Madison over to someone like you.
Then Sabrina let out a loud laugh that echoed throughout the neighborhood. Are you sure you can say that?
What do you mean? You are now separating a child from his biological parent, me. Isn't that a serious crime? A crime? Why would I be committing a crime?
If you have a complaint, why not call the police right now? Who do you think the police will believe?
By the way, my current fiancé, Trace, as well as his parents, always say you are a terrible mother-in-law.
It seems Sabrina is spreading the word that I'm a bad mother-in-law for stubbornly taking Madison away from his biological mother. The moment I learned this fact, a mix of anger and sadness wrestled within me, and I felt an urge to cry. Crying is useless.
Madison is my real child, born of my own flesh. You, a stranger, have no right to interfere from the beginning.
Honestly, I felt an impulse to slap Sabrina right there, but I knew that wouldn't solve anything.
The issue is the child's will. Whether Madison chooses to continue living with us or decides to live with you, his mother, is up to him.
That's true.
Let's do that. Then call Madison, please.
I was confident Madison would choose to stay with us. As always, I would never hand him over to a mother like Sabrina. Madison would never make such a wrong choice. When called, Madison reappeared at the entrance.
Madison.
You heard the conversation, right? What do you think? This is about your life, so you decide. I looked into Madison's eyes.
Madison. Of course, you want to live with me, your mother. Who else bore you with such pain? It's obvious who's in front of you. So, the answer should be clear. You can be honest with your feelings. You don't have to mind anyone. If it's your decision, I won't say anything anymore.
I said this, believing Madison would choose me. Then, Madison, pointing at Sabrina, said,
I want to live with Mom.
How can this be? I was speechless, never expecting Madison to choose his mother who had abandoned him.
Just like my son. Rather than living with an unrelated old person, he wants to live with a young and beautiful mom. Really? Is that really okay for you, Madison? Do you seriously want to live with such a mother?
Madison looked at me with a firm gaze.
I've decided for myself. I've chosen to go with Mom.
It felt as though darkness enveloped me. But it's not my place to interfere in the choice Madison himself made. I had to abide by the decision already made. All right. It's Madison's life. Do as you wish. I knelt down and hugged my not blood-related grandson as tightly as I could.
Madison, when did you grow up so much? Even when you go to your new home, make sure to stay healthy. Don't catch a cold.
Then, forcing down my feelings, I'm now a stranger to you. You don't have to remember me. I whispered in Madison's ear with a voice trembling with tears.
I won't forget. I'll never forget, Grandma.
Madison whispered back, audible only to me. Madison silently got into the back seat of the car. Through tear-blurred eyes, I watched Sabrina's car disappear from view. Madison, now far removed from us, seemed to be fighting his own battles, unknown to me. Madison was warmly welcomed into Trace's home.
Madison. Finally, we meet. I've been looking forward to meeting you for a long time.
Sabrina's new fiancé, Trace, 3 years her senior, was a businessman known as a beloved and respected young man. Even when Madison first arrived, Trace made an effort to make him feel at ease in the unfamiliar surroundings by engaging in various conversations. Trace's parents were also looking forward to meeting their new family member, especially his mother, who had risen early to prepare meals. When Madison stepped into the house, a feast laid out on a large platter awaited him on the table, presumably arranged by Sabrina.
Weren't you able to eat good food at their house? Now that you're here, you don't have to worry anymore. You can always eat delicious meals to your heart's content.
Trace said this and winked at Madison. Madison remained silent, not showing a smile.
What's the matter, I wonder? Maybe he's just a bit nervous meeting his new family.
Sabrina said with a forced smile, but Madison glared at her. You don't have to be scared. After all, those people are strangers with no relation to you.
Don't worry. If those people try to take you back, we'll call the police and have them protect you.
Trace and his parents seemed genuinely concerned for Madison.
Madison, why have you been so quiet? Trace is welcoming you. He's going to be your new dad.
Madison continued to glare at Sabrina. Finally, Sabrina, frustrated, snapped.
Enough already. If you have something to say it clearly.
Frustrated, snapped. Then Madison took a deep breath as if waiting for this moment.
I'm grateful to Trace and his family for welcoming me warmly. However, I never want to be involved with you again. What?
Sabrina was stunned, unable to comprehend what Madison had just said, her mouth agape.
Madison, what do you mean by that? Saying you never want to be involved with Mom again?
Trace asked calmly on Sabrina's behalf.
I still consider Grandma and Grandpa my real family. What are you saying? Those people are the bad ones who took you away from me. Don't say such ridiculous things. Madison, you're a kind child, maybe feeling guilty for leaving them. But you don't need to protect those people anymore.
Trace looked at Madison with a shaken gaze. But Madison was resolute.
I'm not being considerate towards Grandma and Grandpa. I just don't want to think of someone who cheated and then suddenly abandoned me as my mother. Wait, Madison. What are you suddenly saying?
Sabrina laughed it off, clearly shaken. Madison continued.
I can't stand it anymore, being abandoned by Mom who now claims to be my mother. I refuse to call such a person Mom for the rest of my life.
Trace's parents, who had been silently listening, looked skeptically at Sabrina.
Madison, is it true that Mom cheated and abandoned you?
Trace's father asked with a stern face, and Madison nodded with conviction.
That's a lie, obviously.
Sabrina hurriedly denied it.
When I was kicked out, this child was only 8 years old. An 8-year-old couldn't possibly understand the real situation. He must have been fed lies.
Saying so, Sabrina broke down crying. Maybe Madison was too young to know the truth. Trace's mother, with tears in her eyes, showed understanding towards Sabrina's argument.
Those people are truly terrible. Brainwashing such an innocent child to their advantage, it's unforgivable.
Trace asserted strongly. Then Madison pulled out a mobile phone from his bag and began to play videos documenting his interactions with us. The video showed us giving Madison presents on his birthday, Madison's joyous reaction. At Madison's sports day, Reynold, without regard for others' stares, pushed through other parents to cheer. On days off from school, Madison eating the lunch I made happily during fishing trips with Reynold, filled with countless happy smiles.
How is this brainwashing? This is just a normal relationship between grandparents and their grandchild.
Trace expressed his honest thoughts after watching the video. And at the end of the video, it recorded the scene where Sabrina came to Lila's house to take Madison back.
Stop it! Grandma, help!
Sabrina is seen trying to forcefully take Madison into her car. Then there's a heated argument between me and Sabrina, where in a moment of heightened emotions, Sabrina admits to having neglected her sick husband to have an affair with Trace. Wait a minute. 3 years ago, that's when I met you, Sabrina. You said you were already on bad terms with your husband and close to a divorce, didn't you? Trace, noticing the contradiction between what Sabrina had told him and what was now being shown in Madison's mobile phone video, glared at Sabrina. Not just Trace, but his parents also began to harbor doubts about Sabrina's words. Sabrina's face turned pale, and she snatched the mobile phone from Madison's hand.
I'll take care of this.
She ran towards the entrance and smashed it on the ground. The mobile phone made a lifeless sound as it broke easily, and the video stopped.
This must be a trap set up by Lila. She anticipated that someday I would take Madison back, so she prepared these staged videos in advance. That must be it.
It's useless, you know. Madison retorted in a calm tone.
Hey Mom, have you heard of the cloud? Nowadays, even if the mobile phone itself is destroyed, the data recorded on it is saved online.
Looking up at his mother with eyes red from crying.
So, no matter how much you destroy the mobile phone, the data inconvenient for you remains out of your reach.
Not just the video I showed now.
There are plenty of memories with Grandma and Grandpa saved.
Everything you're doing is pointless.
Sabrina. It seems there's no lie in what Madison is saying. We've been deceived by your lies for 3 years.
Trace's father said with furrowed brows.
Don't be fooled. That's all lies. Trace, say something.
Sabrina pleaded for help from her fiancé, but Trace, avoiding her gaze, said, I can't believe you anymore.
I want an explanation that makes sense to both my parents and me.
Sabrina had nothing to say and just knelt on the ground, slumping down.
Well, I had no idea such things were happening behind my back.
I later heard about this unfolding at Trace's house directly from Trace himself. When Trace brought Madison back, I'm truly sorry for what happened, even though I didn't know. He apologized deeply. We were surprised and responded,
Please, don't be so formal.
According to Trace, he had been told that the relationship with her husband had already broken down 3 years ago and that divorce was imminent. However, Lila and her husband refused to let go of Madison despite having no blood relation. And Sabrina had been fabricating lies about them, causing Madison daily distress. We were deceived by Sabrina, thinking you were terrible people. Then, the moment it was revealed all Sabrina's statements were false, Trace and his parents' sympathy turned into intense disgust.
Sabrina has completely exhausted our patience. The engagement is naturally off.
Trace said firmly and even mentioned seeking compensation for being continuously deceived. Sabrina, exposed for her lies and ejected from Trace's home right before their marriage, came begging to our house.
I'm in a lot of debt. Please help me. We were once family, after all. I was the woman your son loved. You could at least help me a little.
Despite her convenient reasoning, I did not open the door to welcome her. Then, driven by some thought, she repeatedly rammed against the closed door and eventually smashed several potted plants on the ground.
Why can you only think of such foolish actions?
Sabrina was screaming and causing a commotion, but soon, the noise attracted the attention of nearby residents, who seemed to have called the police. The police officers who arrived took Sabrina away. Even as she was being put into the police car, Sabrina was yelling something, but I couldn't hear her. What happened to Sabrina afterwards, we don't know, and now it doesn't matter to us. Since the incident with Sabrina, Trace has visited our house several times to help Madison with his studies.
Madison is really smart, and it's fun to teach him because he learns so quickly.
On his days off, Trace is in the garden playing catch with Madison. If Morton were alive, I'm sure it would have been like this. In my eyes, Trace and Morton's figures overlapped.
Grandma, thank you for everything.
Madison had secretly been saving his allowance and bought carnations and an apron for me on Mother's Day.
That's something you're supposed to give to your mom,
I said bashfully as I received the flowers. For me, Grandma, you're like a mom. Hearing this, Reynolds, spurred by a sense of rivalry, said,
Then I'm looking forward to Father's Day.
I'll give you a shoulder massage, Grandpa. I love you because you always take me out to play. Madison, back in our home, has become even more filial to us than before.
I'm going to become a doctor in the future. I'll become a doctor and make sure Grandma and Grandpa live a long life.
With his eyes, clear and devoid of any impurities, sparkling, Madison declared,
That's exactly what my termination letter stated. A $1 digital gift card, delivered through a sterile Zoom meeting. After 30 years of dedication to Wilson Technologies, this was my severance, a digital pittance that felt more like a slap in the face than a goodbye. James Wilson, our 35-year-old CEO with his Harvard MBA and perfectly curated LinkedIn profile, smirked at me through the screen, treating my decades of service like a footnote in his efficiency optimization plan. I kept my expression neutral, even as my fingers tightened around my mouse. Understood, I replied, my voice steady despite the anger building inside. After the Zoom call ended, I opened my development environment. There, in the heart of the system I'd built from the ground up, I began the process of wiping everything clean. Some might call it sabotage, but I was simply following the termination protocol I'd written myself years ago. My final task, as outlined in my contract. Within minutes, the Slack channels erupted with panic. Is anyone else getting server errors? I can't access the cloud storage. The deployment pipeline is down. Messages cascaded across my screen in real time. Then came the frantic video call from James, his composed MBA demeanor cracking. Michael, what's happening to our systems? He demanded, his voice tight with barely controlled panic. I met his gaze through the webcam, feeling a calm I hadn't experienced in months. This was the moment when my calculated response to the company's next-gen leadership truly began. My name is Michael Chen. I'm 50 years old, and I've devoted my entire career to Wilson Technologies. I joined after dropping out of community college, making me the longest-serving employee in a culture where 2-year tenures are considered loyal. As the chief systems architect, I've built and maintained the technological backbone of this company. While younger developers came and went with their boot camp certificates and startup dreams, I stayed, quietly evolving our infrastructure. The work was challenging, but it gave me purpose. Even as I balanced the growing needs of the company with caring for my aging parents, I took pride in what I'd built. Alex, one of my most promising team members, approached my desk with concern etched on his face. Hey, Michael, I think there's something weird going on with the deployment pipeline, he said, gesturing to his MacBook. I leaned over to look at his screen, the blue light reflecting off my glasses. Ah, there's an issue with the containerization setup. Let me show you how to fix it, I explained, typing in the correction with practiced ease. Alex's eyes lit up with understanding. Thanks, Michael. We'd be lost without your expertise here. I gave him a small smile, remembering my own early days of coding. Soon enough, you'll be the one handling all of this. I'm counting on you to keep things running." Alex shook his head vigorously, his AirPods nearly falling out. "No way. You are irreplaceable. Why are you even talking like that?" "Well," I said, closing his laptop gently, "I've been thinking about the future lately. Things are changing around here." Being in his late 20s, Alex couldn't see the writing on the wall. The subtle shifts in management's attitudes, the new metrics being tracked, the whispered conversations about digital transformation. Back then, I still believed in the company's future. But everything changed when Robert Wilson, our founder and CEO, was suddenly hospitalized with a severe illness. His condition deteriorated rapidly, leaving no chance for a gradual transition. In his absence, his son James, fresh from his Silicon Valley consulting stint, stepped in as CEO. James launched his tenure with a TED Talk-style company meeting, live streamed to all employees. "This is a pivotal moment for Wilson Technologies," he declared, standing on the stage in his perfectly tailored suit. "We need to embrace disruption and agile methodologies. It's time to optimize our human capital and leverage cutting-edge solutions." His buzzword-laden speech initially energized the younger employees. James had that quintessential tech CEO charisma, the kind that plays well on social media. Having briefly worked with him during his listening tour of various departments, I wanted to believe he could carry his father's vision forward. But my optimism was misplaced. Within weeks of taking the helm, James launched what he called a strategic restructuring initiative. In reality, it was a brutal efficiency drive that turned our collaborative workspace into a pressure cooker. Teams were reorganized seemingly at random, with Slack notifications about role changes becoming a daily occurrence. But the most gut-wrenching aspect was his treatment of veteran employees. Instead of valuing their institutional knowledge, James saw them as legacy overhead. His solution wasn't direct termination. That would have been too obvious. Instead, he orchestrated a series of demotions disguised as role realignments. Experienced developers were suddenly transferred for growth opportunities to data entry positions. Senior project managers found themselves pivoting to junior support roles. Those who couldn't adapt to these humiliating changes eventually resigned, their farewell messages in Slack becoming increasingly frequent. I tried to rationalize it at first. If the younger employees he was promoting had shown exceptional talent, I might have understood. But their GitHub commits told a different story. The truly skilled young developers, frustrated by the obvious favoritism, updated their LinkedIn profiles and left for competitors. Those who remained were mostly James' loyal circle, former consulting colleagues and business school connections who could talk about synergy but couldn't debug a simple production issue. Today, I watched another notification pop up in our team channel. Another resignation. This time, it was David, a brilliant back-end developer I'd mentored for over a decade. As he packed up his desk, methodically disconnecting his multiple monitors, he gave me a weak smile. "Thanks for everything, Michael," he said, his mechanical keyboard the last item to go into his backpack. I forced myself to maintain composure. "But why? Your microservices architecture is the backbone of our new platform." He let out a heavy sigh, glancing at the culture of innovation poster James had recently plastered across the office. "I'm tired of fighting against digital transformation initiatives that just break what's already working." It's not worth the mental toll anymore. Then he looked at me intently and added, "But Michael, you're the only one who truly understands our system's architecture. They can't function without you." As he attempted a reassuring grin, I felt my throat tighten. I wanted to give him a proper send-off, but all I could do was watch as he badged out for the last time, another victim of our new, optimized culture. How many farewell messages had I seen in our Slack channels by now? You might expect such a mass exodus would trigger some kind of resistance, but the general channel remained filled with forced enthusiasm and corporate emoji reactions. One by one, our most talented engineers left, leaving behind those too overworked to update their resumes, too resigned to fight back, or too loyal to James' vision. I was among the stubborn ones, still believing in the infrastructure I'd built. But the company's decline was unmistakable. The signs were everywhere: failed deployments, increasing customer complaints, and even James himself showing signs of strain. "This is just a temporary adjustment period," I overheard him telling his inner circle during a virtual happy hour. "We're in the classic J curve of transformation. The hockey stick growth is coming." I couldn't believe the arrogance in his voice, especially when his audience of MBA peers responded with a chorus of, "That's so insightful, James." It was clear he wouldn't acknowledge his mistakes. Frustrated, I returned to my monitor array in the systems management room, where Alex was waiting. "Michael, heads up," he said, his face concerned. "James is doing a systems audit today. He's been poking around different departments with his efficiency consultants." My stomach tightened. "What?" Alex continued, lowering his voice in our open office. "Word is, after all the team optimizations, he's now looking to cut costs in our infrastructure. They're talking about moving everything to some trendy new cloud platform." I sighed, minimizing my terminal windows. "There's not much we can do, Alex. James has a pattern of making cuts where they hurt most. His enthusiasm for disruption is admirable, but his understanding of our technical debt is limited." Shortly after, James arrived with his entourage of consultants, all carrying identical MacBooks with startup stickers. He scanned our monitors with the same expression he used when evaluating the office coffee machine for cost cutting. "Isn't the AC working a bit too hard in here?" he asked abruptly, adjusting his Patagonia vest. "Our carbon footprint metrics are concerning." I kept my voice professional. "The server room requirements are quite specific for thermal management." He barely acknowledged my response, turning instead to Alex. "Tell me about our cloud migration readiness." It was telling that he completely ignored my role as the principal architect. After walking around the server room, taking photos with his iPhone, James finally turned to me. "Michael, right?" he said, as if we hadn't worked in the same company for years. "Yes, Mr. Wilson," I replied, noticing him flinch slightly at his father's surname. "You've been here. How long?" 30 years, I answered, my AWS certification badges displayed prominently on my desk. 30 years, he mused, scrolling through something on his tablet. "I'm looking at your compensation package. It's significantly above market rate." Was that my father's decision? "Yes, it was," I replied firmly, feeling my jaw tighten. He glanced at Alex's workstation. "And Alex here is managing deployments now too, correct?" "He's learning the systems," I said carefully, not liking where this was heading. This was my first direct conversation with our new CEO, and despite my better judgment, I decided to speak up. Mr. Wilson, I strongly advise against any rushed infrastructure changes. With all the recent team restructuring, our system stability is crucial. Moving to a new cloud architecture now would significantly impact our reliability. James's perfectly groomed eyebrows furrowed. That's not your decision to make, he snapped, his carefully cultivated CO persona cracking. I fell silent, surprised by his sudden hostility. His expression was something I'd never seen in our virtual meetings. Raw contempt. A systems architect questioning the CEO's technical strategy? He sneered. Know your place in the org chart. I apologize, I said quietly, thinking of the system I'd built while he was still in high school. He smirked, adjusting his Apple Watch. You're the architect, right, Michael? Don't worry, I'll think about our infrastructure strategy thoroughly. His tone dripped with condescension as he guided his consultants out. Once they were gone, Alex let out a long breath. That was intense, Michael, but you handled it well. I shook my head, closing my terminal windows. Sorry, Alex. I didn't mean to create tension. No, you're right, he said quickly. Your concerns are valid, but James, he's not interested in technical reality. What's his real agenda? Nothing good for the engineering team, I replied, starting to back up certain critical configuration files. Alex and I sat in silence. The hum of servers our only companion. After that interaction, we knew we needed to have a serious discussion about contingency plans. The writing on the wall was now impossible to ignore. A calendar invite appeared in my inbox. Strategic Resource Discussion with James Wilson. When I joined the Zoom call, James' practiced smile filled my screen. Michael, thank you for your contributions over the years, he began, his background a carefully curated bookshelf. Then came the words I'd been expecting. We've decided to terminate your position. I stared at his pixelated image. Could you repeat that? It's not personal, he said with that same MBA-polished smile. It's strategic realignment. He shared his screen to show a PDF document. Your severance package. The file opened to reveal a $1 digital gift card to a major coffee chain. Something about the digital delivery made it even more insulting than a physical dime would have been. Why not a proper bank transfer? Mr. Wilson, this isn't appropriate, even as some kind of tech-savvy joke, I said, my voice tight with controlled anger. Oh, it's no joke, he replied smoothly. He shared another screen. A scanned document I recognized immediately. It was my employment contract from 30 years ago when I first joined the company. James zoomed in on a specific section. Take a look here, he said with obvious satisfaction. Your severance is listed as a digital compensation equivalent to $1. My eyes widened. Next to the standard severance clause, someone had clearly edited the digital document to include this absurd provision. The font didn't even match the original text. James highlighted the modified section with his cursor. See? I didn't add this. It was already there in our digital records. Interesting, isn't it? And you digitally signed this contract, didn't you? I started to object, but he cut me off. This is all according to protocol, he said firmly. Clean up your Git repositories and transfer access. It's all in the termination checklist I just shared. His expression made it clear that any argument would be futile. I realized I'd probably been targeted ever since that systems audit. I was exactly the type of legacy employee he wanted to eliminate, someone who represented the old guard he so despised. The only reason I'd lasted this long was my control over the core infrastructure. But after seeing Alex handle deployments, he must have decided it was time to optimize his human resources. My honest feedback during the audit probably just accelerated his timeline. What a perfect example of modern tech leadership, I thought bitterly. A company run by metrics and buzzwords had no future. As I closed the Zoom window, memories of every farewell Slack message I'd read over the past months flashed through my mind. Their frustration, their helplessness, it all made perfect sense now. I forced myself to type "acknowledged" in our final chat, then closed my MacBook. My next stop was my Ide. Alex was already online, waiting in our private Slack channel, just as we had planned. "It's time," I messaged him. Alex's response was immediate, standing by. We began our work silently, our cursors moving in practiced coordination. Dismantling a system is far simpler than building one, and we had everything containerized for easy removal. Within minutes, the company's Slack channels exploded with notifications. "Is this down? I can't access anything. The CI/CD pipeline is completely broken. All our microservices are returning errors." The chaos spread rapidly across every department. Through the office's glass walls, I could see people frantically typing on their keyboards, confused by the sudden technical apocalypse. James' emergency video call came through exactly as we predicted. His face appeared on my screen, pale and panicked. "Michael," he shouted, his carefully maintained CEO composure shattered. "What have you done?" I looked directly into my webcam, feeling surprisingly calm. "I followed the termination protocol exactly as specified, Mr. Wilson," I replied. "What protocol?" "Your access credentials? Why is our entire infrastructure offline? Since the system architecture was personally licensed, I've removed it according to the termination agreement. I'm simply cleaning up my contributions to the company," I explained. "What are you talking about?" he demanded, his voice cracking. I pulled up the same contract he had so proudly displayed earlier, sharing my screen. "It's documented right here," I said, zooming in on a specific clause. "The core system architecture remains under personal license, with the salary structure covering ongoing usage rights. The agreement states that all licensed components will be returned upon termination. This has been in our Git repository for 3 decades." James stared at his screen, his startup founder confidence crumbling. "This is absurd. You can't just delete our entire cloud infrastructure because one architect leaves." I resisted pointing out the irony of a $1 digital gift card severance. Instead, I maintained my professional tone. "If you rescind my termination, I'll restore the system and return your coffee gift card." He slammed his desk, his virtual background flickering. "Alex, restore everything from our backups immediately." Alex, still on the call, hesitated before responding. "Yes, sir. I'll start the recovery process. But with our current architecture, it might take some time. I don't care how long it takes." "Just fix it," James snapped, his voice distorting through his AirPods. After exchanging a knowing look with Alex through our private Slack channel, I decided it was time to log off. I closed my development environment one last time, leaving behind the virtual workspace where I had spent so much of my career. My mind was clear, focused on the next phase of our plan. I was reviewing some personal projects when my phone lit up with Wilson Technologies' number. James's voice came through, sounding exhausted. "Michael," he said, dropping the CEO tone. "We're in serious trouble. Alex can't restore the systems, and we've lost a week of productivity, including all our cloud services." I could hear the desperation he was trying to hide. His Silicon Valley confidence had evaporated. "How is that my concern?" I asked, suppressing a smile. "Let's make a deal. We'll buy the system architecture. $100,000. No, $200,000. I couldn't help but laugh. "Mr. Wilson, you clearly don't understand enterprise software valuation. That wouldn't cover a month of development costs." "What do you mean?" "Then what's your price?" $1 million, I stated flatly. $1 million? His voice cracked like a failing deployment. "Yes, $1 million, I confirmed, checking my system monitoring dashboard. "And honestly, you're getting a bargain. The entire infrastructure, including all microservices and deployment pipelines, is worth far more." "This is extortion," he exploded. "That's more than your entire severance package, which, as you recently demonstrated, was a $1 gift card," I replied dryly. Seeing he wasn't grasping the situation, I dropped my professional demeanor. "Mr. Wilson, I'm serious. Without that $1 million, you won't get the system back, and I won't help Alex restore it either." There was a long pause, filled only with the sound of his agitated breathing. When he spoke again, his voice was ice cold. "Absolutely not. I refuse to give in to this ridiculous demand. How dare you ask for such an outrageous sum after all this company has done for you?" The call ended abruptly. I set down my phone, feeling more resigned than triumphant. His response confirmed everything about his inability to lead. I opened my laptop and began composing an email that would set the final phase of our plan in motion. Shouting echoed through the office's Zoom call. James, now the former CEO, was virtually facing his father, Robert Wilson. Though Robert wasn't fully recovered, his commanding presence filled even the video call. From my own home office, I watched the meeting unfold with a mixture of vindication and sadness. "Why am I being removed as CEO?" James demanded, his virtual background glitching with his movements. "I'm not removing you," Robert replied firmly from his home recovery room. "I'm demoting you to a regular developer position. You need to learn this business from the ground up." James looked appalled, his perfectly curated LinkedIn profile about to need serious updating. Me, a former CEO, coding like a bootcamp graduate. This is humiliating. Robert's voice cut through the video call, making James visibly flinch. "Humiliating?" Robert thundered, his recovery room setup somehow amplifying his authority. "You should be ashamed of the chaos you've created. You nearly destroyed our entire technical infrastructure." I remained silent in my corner of the screen as Robert continued his virtual reprimand. "I was foolish to trust your quarterly reports," he continued. "I explicitly warned you not to interfere with our core technical team, yet you forced out our most valuable engineers, including Michael." At the mention of my name, James' glare shifted to my video feed. He knew I had played a pivotal role in exposing his mismanagement. His reckless decisions had become intolerable, and I had felt compelled to bring the situation to Robert's attention. Despite feeling guilty about disturbing his recovery, I had sent him a detailed analysis of the company's technical degradation under James' leadership. Robert, who had been relying solely on James' carefully curated reports, was shocked when he saw my documentation of the actual system stability metrics. Realizing the company's infrastructure was at risk of collapse, he had decided to return to leadership despite his ongoing recovery. When Robert had told me, "Thank you for bringing this to my attention, Michael. My son's optimization would have destroyed everything we built," I knew we had made the right choice. Alex and I had carefully orchestrated our response. We recognized that if James's strategic realignment continued, the entire engineering department would eventually be outsourced. So we demonstrated exactly how critical our internal infrastructure was by making it temporarily inaccessible. It was the only form of resistance available to our engineering team. As expected, the chaos that followed the system shutdown was massive. James couldn't handle the technical crisis, and even his MBA network began questioning his leadership. For the first time, our remaining engineers spoke up openly on Slack. "We need Robert back. This digital transformation is destroying our platform." The criticism grew until James faced the board over video conference. Their assessment was brutal but accurate. They condemned his treatment of senior engineers, his mishandling of technical layoffs, and the catastrophic system failure. During the virtual board meeting, the topic of my system architecture came up repeatedly. One board member, a veteran CTO, pointed out, $1 million for a fully developed, production-tested infrastructure is an incredible bargain. Why didn't our CEO secure this asset? Building a new system from scratch would cost tens of millions and years of development time. Hearing their technical assessment validated the countless nights I'd spent building and maintaining our platform. After the board's decision, James sat in his home office, his perfectly crafted CEO image now visibly crumbling during the video call with Robert. "I'm sorry," he muttered reluctantly, glancing at my video feed. His apology rang hollow, his resentment still evident in every pixel. I kept my response professional, acknowledged. Robert, watching our interaction through the call, turned to me. "Michael, I truly apologize for this entire situation. Would you consider returning to the company?" His sincerity was clear, even through the digital medium. I smiled into my webcam. "Yes, I'll come back, as long as you're leading the technical vision." "Thank you," Robert replied, visible relief spreading across his face. Then he asked, "Should we process the $1 million payment for the system architecture?" "That won't be necessary," I responded. "The company has already given me something far more valuable, a chance to build something meaningful." Robert laughed warmly, and I joined in. James, in his video thumbnail, stared at us with confusion, his startup metrics and KPIs unable to quantify this moment. Later, in a private Slack channel, Alex messaged me, "I'm so glad everything worked out, Michael. I was really nervous about our backup malfunction. You went through quite an ordeal." "You took some risks too, Alex," I replied. "Those weekend emergency response sessions must have been stressful." Alex sent back a smiling emoji. If it means protecting our engineering culture, I'd do it again. Besides, all I really did was run some very convincing error simulations. I laughed and typed back, "Your system recovery failure performance was perfect. It was key to this whole resolution." Alex sent another message. James was unbelievable, though. A $1 digital gift card and doctored contract metadata. That's next level toxic. I paused before typing my response. "Actually, there's something you should know. That digital contract modification, I was the one who added it." "What?" Alex's surprised emoji popped up instantly. "What do you mean?" I smiled at my screen, ready to share a story I'd never told anyone. "Let me tell you about my younger self and how I ended up here. Back in high school, I was the quintessential computer nerd. I couldn't fit into the typical social circles, so I retreated into code. My room became my sanctuary, filled with monitors and the constant hum of computers. I spent countless hours developing my own programs, building systems from scratch. One day, Robert Wilson, who knew my father from the local tech community, discovered my personal projects. He saw potential in my obsession with systems architecture and offered me a position at his growing startup. For someone who had spent years hiding behind screens, his belief in my abilities was life-changing. He didn't just offer me a job, he offered me a salary that was unprecedented for a community college dropout. Robert's faith gave me a chance to step out of my self-imposed isolation. I still remember the day he proposed that salary. Even as an inexperienced developer, I knew the figure was far above entry level. "I can't accept this much," I told him honestly. But Robert shook his head. "This is actually a modest offer," he replied. "We're still a startup, and this is all we can offer right now. But as we grow, your compensation will reflect the value of your contributions. Your system architecture skills are worth far more." His words stunned me. In a moment of youthful idealism, I opened the digital contract he'd shared and added a small clause. I inserted digital compensation equivalent to $1 next to the standard severance terms. Robert's eyebrows shot up when he saw the modification. $1? He asked, puzzled. "Yes," I replied earnestly. "I already feel guilty accepting such a generous starting salary. I don't need additional compensation when I leave. This feels fair to me." Contract discussion. Though he must have found my naive idealism amusing, Robert responded with characteristic thoughtfulness. "Let's approach this differently," he suggested, sharing his screen to modify the contract. "We'll classify this system architecture as a licensed asset. I'll document that in your employment agreement and prepare the proper licensing documentation later. Upon departure, you retain rights to the system. If we need to maintain usage, we'll negotiate fair compensation. Wouldn't that be a more appropriate severance structure?" I nodded, appreciating the elegant solution. "You saw right through my amateur contract modification," I admitted. Robert chuckled warmly. "You have excellent technical instincts," he said. "But business agreements require a different kind of architecture." That moment cemented my loyalty to Robert's leadership. He had recognized my potential when I was at my lowest, and his guidance had helped me emerge from my shell. When I finished recounting this story, Alex was silent for a moment before responding. "So that's the real history between you and the Wilsons," he typed, followed by a thoughtful emoji. Yes, I replied. I never imagined that contract modification would resurface because of James. James' tenure at Wilson Technologies ended shortly after his demotion. Unable to handle the transition from CEO to developer, he resigned to launch a startup with his business school network. However, Robert later mentioned that James' venture was struggling to gain traction in the competitive SaaS market. Even after returning to full-time leadership, Robert faced significant challenges rebuilding our technical foundation. I hoped James wouldn't disrupt his father's recovery with requests for startup funding. He needs to learn the realities of building something sustainable, Robert said firmly during one of our architecture review meetings. It's like pushing a fledgling developer to handle production issues. Sometimes failure is the best teacher. I doubted James would ever admit needing help, even if his startup metrics turned red. His pride had driven him to resign, and that same pride would prevent him from acknowledging his mistakes. With Robert back at the helm, Wilson Technologies gradually regained its technical excellence. Alex and I dedicated ourselves to implementing a more robust, scalable architecture. The foundation finally felt solid again. One afternoon, I received a calendar invite for a private meeting in Robert's virtual office. "What's on your mind?" I asked, curious about the unexpected call. "I want you to join the executive team," he said directly. "As our new Chief Technology Officer." I stared at my screen, momentarily frozen. "CTO?" "Yes," he said, his voice carrying the same confidence he'd shown 30 years ago. "I want you to help shape our technical vision at the highest level. We need your architecture expertise in the C-suite. I hope you'll partner with me in rebuilding this company's future." The weight of the role struck me. Chief Technology Officer. It meant overseeing our entire technical strategy, guiding our engineering culture, and standing as Robert's key technical advisor. "Are you sure I'm qualified for this position?" I asked hesitantly. Robert's expression softened, as it always did when he sensed my self-doubt. "The next generation is ready, aren't they?" he said, referring to Alex and the engineering team we'd been mentoring. I nodded, thinking of the technical leadership I'd seen emerging. "Yes, Alex and the team are more than capable now." "That's not a concern." "Then let's begin," Robert said with a smile. "We need to prepare for the board meeting and draft your executive employment agreement." His emphasis on the word agreement made us both laugh. "Don't worry, I won't add any $1 clauses to this one," I joked. "I'd hope not," he replied warmly. The atmosphere in our virtual meeting felt charged with possibility, and for the first time in months, I felt genuinely excited about the future. As I closed the video call, a thought occurred to me. Could I, as CTO, help rebuild the engineering team we'd lost? The idea filled me with purpose. I was grateful I'd fought to preserve our technical integrity, even when facing seemingly impossible odds. This company had given me more than just a career. It had provided a platform to create, to mentor, and to grow beyond my introverted beginnings. It had become more than just an employer. It was a community that connected past and present engineers, building toward a shared vision. As I opened my development environment to start sketching out our new technical roadmap, I felt energized by the challenges ahead. For the first time in my career, I wasn't just maintaining systems. I was helping shape the future of technology itself.